thinking of those families at this time, and we're thinking of the young man who is still ill in hospital. It is my intention, as Chair of Council and on behalf of you all, to send a letter to the 3 families involved. We also, over the parade, we had the lighter note with the Queen's New Year's Honours List. And it is my intention to send all those who have been honoured letters of congratulations. And I'll just cover them briefly here. And it is Mrs. Jackie Moore, an MBE, Mrs. Maria Michael, an MBE, Mr. David Donaldson, an MBE, Mr. Kenny Donaldson, MBE, Mr. Graham Dodds, an MBE, Mr. Joseph O'Loughlin, a BEM, Mrs. Lorna Moore-Dean, a BEM, Dr. Mary Gordon McBride, BEM, Mr. Edwin Johnson, BEM, Mrs. Frances Hunter, BEM, Miss Anne Thompson, BEM, Miss Joan McCauley, BEM, and Mr. Wesley Atchison, BEM. I want to congratulate them all, and as I said, I will be sending letters to each individual on behalf of myself and the Council in general. Thank you. Next, we have, and it's been raised with me before Christmas parade, and since that on several occasions, Councillor Gavin McPhillips of the SDLP has an item of business he wishes to raise. So, Councillor McPhillips.
Thank you very much, Chair. Can you hear me okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come in, and I'll be very brief. I know we have to get through the business. I'm sure some of you may be aware of Kieran McKenna from Enniskillen, who recently was appointed first team manager of Ipswich Football Club. I know Councillor Warrington will know they're being a big fan of the club. Kieran and myself were in the same class in St Michael's back in the day, all them years ago. So I would just like to propose, Chair, with your permission, if we write a letter of congratulations to Kieran on his appointment and his achievements to this date, and also possibly in the near future when he's at home again, be some kind of a chair's reception for himself. So I'd like to make that proposal, please, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McPhillips. That'll not be a problem. Our councillor wanting to come in here now, and it's Councillor Victor Warrington.
I'd like to second Councillor McPhillips' proposal. As he said on the outset there, I've been an Ipswich Town supporter, one of the very few I'll add in Northern Ireland, one of about 4 in County Fermanagh, but there is a few of us kicking about. So certainly it was obviously very nice for a County Fermanagh man to be appointed the manager of the team. So I'll second Councillor McPhillips' proposal. And just to say that since Kieran has took over, we've had 2 wins and conceded no goals. So hopefully that will long continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so it's been proposed and seconded that a letter of congratulations be sent by myself on behalf of myself and all the other councillors to Kieran McKenna, and possible chair's reception at a future date. And that's been seconded by Councillor Warrington. And I think we're all agreed. Okay, thank you. Okay, just a wee bit of information about the protocol for our meeting as usual. And as we're in a new year and we want to start it fresh again, and we want to get our meetings done and dusted in a good and timely manner. So I'd ask people, please respect the chair and each other. And just a few points. The correspondence is for noting. So I'm not going to allow any major debate on any of the issues. We're going to be moving forward. The part 2 business will be brought forward to after item 12, which is correspondence. And we have quite a bit of any urgent and relevant business. We have issues raised by Councillor Alan Rainey, MBE, Councillor Paul Robinson, Councillor Mark Buchanan, Councillor Keith Elliott, Councillor Barry McAduff, and Councillor Donald O'Coffey. So it's in everyone's interest that we get to that point. So leave it in your hands, councillors. Thank you very much. And now we'll proceed. Councillor Bert Wilson indicating to come in. Via WebEx. And the chamber will be taken first and WebEx second. Councillor Wilson. Okay, the hands down. We'll move on. Thank you for that. Okay, on to the agenda proper. And first issue we have is item number 1, and it's apologies. And I go to the group leaders. Sinn Féin Group Leader, Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Hello? Hello?
Sorry, Bert, it's not time for you.
Yeah, could you just a minute sometime, please?
Councillor Maguire.
Yeah, Grumagad Caherly, it takes a little bit of getting used to, so Gumalashkil, excuse me. No apologies from the Sinn Féin group tonight, Chair, but if you would just allow me to formally welcome Councillor Patrick Withers. But while I'm falcha a core riv Patrick go for in Sinn Féin, so just to formally welcome Patrick to our team. Grumagad Caherly, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Maguire. Okay, over now to the Ulster Unionist Party, Councillor Robert Irving.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd just like to wish everybody Happy New Year, and hopefully we can move forward, as you have said, in collegial fashion, and we present ourselves well. No apologies from our group, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Irving. Okay, on now to Democratic Unionist Party is Councillor Paul Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. On now to the Social Democratic and Labour Party, Councillor Mary Gardy.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chair, and Happy New Year to you and everyone else. Just want to thank yourself, welcome Patrick, Councillor Withers to the committee, and wish him all the luck in his new role. We have no apologies tonight, Chair, from the SDLP, but I just wanted to say you did make reference to Joan Macaulay, BEM, and I want to just congratulate her. She put my 4 boys through school, early stages of school, so she even deserves bigger awards than Matt, in my opinion, but congratulations to Trilix Joan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gardy. Okay, on now to smaller parties and independents. Any apologies? Seeing any indications? Okay. Councillor Wilson, I'm going to let
Yes.
you.
Yes, Chair, just a minute, please. I was cut off. And just on, I would like to welcome to Mid-Tyrone, Councillor Patrick Withers. As the only unionist in that area, we worked always very well as a team, and I would hope that he's aware of that, and we will welcome him there and look forward to working with him. So, and to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Okay, moving on in the agenda, and it's to confirm and sign minutes of the special council meeting held on the 2nd of December 2021, and it's paper A, and it's first of all for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. So it's a special council meeting with Councillor Chris McCaffrey on WebEx. Can we have a proposal for the adoption by Councillor McCaffrey as the Vice Chair of Council?
Correspondence, Caherly, happy to propose.
Thank you, Councillor McCaffrey. I have a seconder, Councillor Robert Irvine, and agreed. Thank you. Okay, item 3, and it's to confirm and sign minutes of council meeting held on the 7th of December 2021, and it's paper B. For accuracy, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, everyone can hear us again?
Yes, Chair, yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear, Chair. Yes, thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Okay,
Right,
no
Claire.
problem. Well, we got to page 13. For accuracy. So page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, and page 21. Okay, can we have a proposer and seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the full council meeting on the 7th December? The indications are coming from Councillor Bert Wilson, proposed, and seconded by Councillor Paul Robinson. Thank you, and I think we're all agreed. Okay. Okay, on to item 4, and its declarations of interest. Okay, councillors, I'm not seeing any indications of declarations of interest. Okay. We're now on to item 5, and its matters arising from the special council meeting on the 2nd of December 2021. So, going through them page by page. Page 1, page 2, page 3,
Sure.
Alec.
Can't see your hand there, Councillor Baird.
I'm sorry I couldn't. I do apologise. There's something wrong with my screen at the moment. I do apologise for coming in verbally.
Right, well, go ahead, Councillor Baird.
It's in relation to item 3, the draft response to the High Street's call for evidence. And one of the things we were talking about that was the emphasis we had to put on rural hubs. I was reading at the weekend there, of the 11 rural hubs, pardon me, that are planned, only 2 have started. Now, the one for Oma is due for 22 and the one for Enniskillen is 23. And I'm wondering, is there anything we can do as a council to try and expedite these hubs, bearing in mind that the 2 towns are probably, apart from Londonderry, I don't think there's anything for Strabane, the most westerly settlements in Northern Ireland. And from an ecological point of view and a practical point of view, it would make sense to ratchet those 2 up. So I'm just wondering, could the Chief Executive make a comment on that, please?
Yeah, and I see there's another councillor in the chamber is indicating here, and we'll take the 2 of you together then. We'll ask for some clarification by the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that point. I think it's well made. The rural hubs in our twin towns are priorities, I think, in terms of ensuring that workers can actually find work locally and avoid having to travel to Belfast. And I think it could stimulate quite a substantial benefit to the council area and to our local traders and so on. I'd certainly like to see advances made to that. One of the issues I had raised was the possibility that the former Southwest College site on Jail Square could be ring fenced, or at least we could make preliminary investigations to that end, because I think that that site could actually be an excellent facility for such a concentration of public sector employment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. Chief Executive.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, Chair, we've made representations previously to the Department of Finance around expediting both the Oma and Enniskillen hubs. The response that we'd received at that time was the department was willing to work with us. In terms of Oma, it was suggested that there was a keenness particularly to consolidate the amount of public sector estate that's currently either owned or leased by the Department of Finance, and I know work is at quite an advanced stage in relation to identifying the preferred site or sites for the hub in Oma. They are also working with the team in relation to the Oma place shaping plan. In terms of Enniskillen, as members will recall, there was a differing approach in terms of the space that would actually be required, which is why I suspect the former Southwest College may be larger in terms of footprint than the department is envisaging. But where that was left, Chair, in both cases is that the council would continue to identify potential locations to feed those into the SRO within the department, and that's the work that we are doing. As part of the disposal process for Southwest College, we have alerted the team to the proposals for the rural hubs as well. So the team within Southwest are aware of that provision.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Councillor Coffey.
Yeah, very briefly, thank you, Chair. I welcome that clarification from the Chief Executive. I think it does reflect quite poorly that the Southwest College is looked at as too big. I think there's a lack of ambition there. There's a lot of jobs could be located in Enniskillen here. And if failing that, we could see perhaps development of workspace, which is very much needed to enable local new startup businesses, because I understand that there's actually a shortfall at the moment of available space to that end. And I think that a holistic approach could actually make the best use of that site to create a lot of jobs and benefit our economy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. Councillor Baird, do you want to come back out again? Councillor Baird.
Pardon me, so I apologise. There's something wrong with my screen tonight. I'll try.
I can see your hand. You okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. I just want to thank the Chief Executive for the work she's doing on that. While I'm more than happy for any location in Enniskillen to be used. I would have thought, unfortunately, contrary to Councillor Coffey's view, that the old old college site would be too big, but maybe we need to think big in this. But anything that can help the civil servants who are working in the east of the province to work locally and spend their money and cut the carbon footprint is to be welcome. So thank you very much, Chief Executive. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Another councillor indicating to come in is Councillor Bert Wilson. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, Chair, I've got through now. Chair, this is regarding, I had lost you for a bit there. This is regarding the special council meeting, the 2nd of December, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
No, well, it's just regarding the page, I would like to welcome the 20-mile speed limit at the Gorton Primary School and St Patrick's Primary School in Gorton. There is a matter that had been, it's on page 8 actually, to do with the removal of...
Sorry, Councillor Wilson, we're just not at that stage yet. We'll bring you on page 8. Just
right,
stay where we are and listen on as we move forward.
Yep.
Okay. So we're on page 3.
Sorry.
Page 4. Councillor McAduff, page 4.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, at the commencement of the meeting, you made your remarks quite appropriately regarding the A5 tragedy, the Girvahi A5 tragedy. So in these minutes, in page 4, under item 4, there is a specific mention of the A5 dual carriaging, dualing flagship project. So I think it's necessary to do this. It's not something I would choose to do in the current context, but it's absolutely necessary to do this. I think from our community's point of view, Chairman, it is absolutely necessary to write again to various decision makers regarding the A5. And I'm thinking specifically about the DFA Infrastructure Minister Nicola Mallon and the Executive Office, First and Deputy First Ministers, and also the Taoiseach's Office and Minister Eamon Ryan in Dublin, because of the joint nature of this project. And we all join with you in expressing our sympathy to the bereaved families, the McNamee family, the Corrigan family, and the Finnegan family recently, and also the Harkin family in early December lost Aaron on the A5. And that's only in the month of December that I'm talking about. We can go further back, but I'm not going to do that. Really what I'm asking for, and it's my proposal, Chair, is that we seek a recommitment to the A5 project, the new road, on the part of all those decision makers I have listed. Oh, and not only that, but a commitment to expedite and accelerate the statutory processes that are due to take place this year, including the unwelcome fourth public inquiry. I would also, as an elected representative for this area, to appeal to those who are making these vexatious legal challenges to stop, and to stop now. But in terms of asking the council to write, it's to those decision makers. And we all know there's a reduction of travel times, connectivity and economic opportunities, investment rationale, but the road safety rationale is screaming out for us at this time, is screaming out at us. And people are saying to us, no more delays and get the new road built. Now, I know this has been said by many people on many occasions, but I think this occasion should not and must not pass without this declaration of intent by this council to get that new road built as soon as possible, not least from the perspective of saving lives. Thank you, Chair, and that's my proposal.
Thank you, Councillor McAduff. Okay, Councillor Glenn Campbell is next via WebEx.
Thank you, Chairman, and I want to fully support Councillor McElduff and indeed yourself for your comments and the expression of sympathy to the families recently bereaved on the A5. I fully support previous speaker, Councillor McElduff, and I would like to second his proposal. It is outrageous that the delivery of the road continues to be delayed. And we, as Barry has said, we know that the Western Transport Corridor scheme is subject to the fourth public inquiry. And that's hugely frustrating, Chairman, for the vast majority of people in the district who want to see full delivery of the new A5 dual carriageway. But I want to, just for in this meeting, I want to look specifically at the busy junction within the settlement of Garvaghey. And this has been raised previously with DFI roads. In March 2017, I had raised the need for some form of speed calming at this junction, and others, including local residents and elected representatives, have on numerous occasions been raising concerns. And indeed, in recent weeks, sadly, we've had cause for community and pastoral leaders in the area to call for something to be done. And tonight I want to fully support their call for action. So there is a strong feeling locally, as Councillor McElduff has said, and therefore I feel it's important that we support the community in that call. And to this end, I want to make a proposal as well. And it's that we write to DFI Roads and request an urgent site meeting with roads officials at that junction in Garvaghey. And whilst there's no doubt, Chairman, that the full delivery of the A5 dual carriageway would dramatically improve safety at this junction and along the route, it's entirely unreasonable, I feel, that the concerns of people who must negotiate this junction on a daily basis are not being addressed in the interim period. So I'm therefore proposing that we write to DFI Roads and request that site meeting between councillors, roads officials, to consider what safety measures can be put in place at that busy junction within the Garvaghey settlement. Chairman, that's my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Rainey, Alan Rainey, MBE.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you at the outset for bringing the incident that happened at the New Year before us at the outset of the meeting, and allow me to add my name to the condolences that you have already mentioned to all of the families and to the young guy in hospital fighting for his life, for wish him a speedy recovery. Maybe to take this here, I want to support the previous two speakers, but Councillor Campbell, you have really put your finger on the button, I think, when you mentioned that we need to have some form of speed calming at Garvaghey, and you have asked for a site meeting there. That is really to be welcomed, because there are many forms of electronic devices. Now I see them in other parts of the road, and they can very accurately show you the speed that you're traveling at. And I think that that's a real, a warning to the oncoming traffic. This is on my doorstep. I travel it every day, and the traffic, perhaps they don't know. A lot of them don't know. Some of them would know, but the speed and the chances that they take is outrageous. And I would second Councillor Campbell's proposal on that there. And then I would support Councillor McElduff's proposal and ask him perhaps that he would include the recall of the joint committee between Donegal, and ourselves, and I think County Monaghan, I think that it would be a powerful team once again in the light of the situation that we have witnessed over the new year, for them to come together and once again put on pressure that something really, really needs to be done in the light of this tragedy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rainey. You've seconded Councillor Campbell's proposal. I'm conscious that Councillor Campbell is the chair of that particular committee you're referring to. So I'm assuming that can be accommodated as we move forward. With regard to Councillor McAduff's proposal that we write to the various ministers in Northern Ireland and in the Republic of Ireland, I take it that was seconded by Councillor Glenn Campbell. So those two issues have been proposed and seconded. I'm assuming, I'm taking it we're all agreed. We have two more speakers, but I would like to get agreement on those courses of action. I'm not seeing any dissent here. So I will bring the following three speakers now, and we'll limit it to that. Councillor Bert Wilson. Councillor Wilson. Okay, Councillor Wilson's not acknowledging. We'll move on now to Councillor Josephine Dehan.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, this is my first contribution to this evening's meeting. Can I take this opportunity of wishing you, your family, members, the Chief Executive and officers a very happy new year. And I hope, Chair, that 2022 will be a better year for all of us. I too want to extend a warm welcome to Councillor Patrick Withers, to congratulate him on being appointed councillor and wish him well going forward. Chair, I think it was very appropriate that your opening remarks this evening alluded to the tragedy on the A5 in which 3 young men lost their lives. And I think we are all united in sadness and grief at this shocking accident. And I would like to express my sincere condolences to the bereaved family. I want to offer my support for the proposals made by Councillor McElduff and Councillor Campbell. We are all gravely disappointed at the lack of progress on the dualling of the A5. It is the responsibility, Chair, not only of the Northern Ireland Government, but also of the Government of the Republic of Ireland to progress this project as speedily as possible. And I hope that we will soon see work begin on this important project. One life lost is a tragedy, unbearable loss and grief for the families involved. And I think we need to take urgent measures to ensure that no further lives are lost. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dehan, and all the best to you for 2022 as well. Last speaker on this issue is Councillor Emmett McAleer. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Just getting myself unmuted there. I'm fully supportive with the both proposals that have been made, but I would maybe take or question one of the contributions that Councillor McElduff said, that he alluded to the vexatious legal arguments of those who are objecting to or who are fighting, I suppose, the progress of the A5 as it currently stands, or as it was initially progressed. I think this time last year, it's worth reminding that we were speaking of costs already accrued in excess of £80 million, with over £50 million being spent on consultancy fees. I think it's very obvious that the fault lies not with the people who are looking to follow through on the legal requirements, the environmental requirements, whatever they might be in relation to this road. It very much lies with those statutory bodies and with those consultants who have failed in their duty to progress this much needed transport corridor for the Northwest. And we don't need to be a Fermanagh or a Tyrone councillor to know that we have for many years been neglected and been left behind in the poor relation. But I think it's just a wee bit much to say that it's solely down to those who are following the legal procedure, that they're actually the ones that are in the wrong, when it's very evident, to me at least, who is in the wrong in relation to this particular issue. So I would just like to add my name to the previous offers of condolence to the families that have been affected by the tragedies that we have seen on our roads locally. And I'll leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I said I was trying to bring this to a close, but conscious there are two other councillors, and these are the final two councillors on the subject, and it's Councillor Mary Garrity.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate that. I wasn't going to come in, but I feel the importance of this. I have to. Really, Chair, I'm not going to waste any time, and I agree with all of the proposals, and I think everyone that has a pulse was heartbroken at the accident. But my proposal, if it's agreeable, Glenn, Councillor Campbell, talk about a site meeting. I would like that invitation to be sent also, and I know ministers are very busy, but I would like that invitation sent to Nicola Mallon, because this is of grave importance, and she, I believe, can really write off the ticket. You know, when you're a minister, you have powers, and it might be, you know, crossing on toes, but sometimes difficult decisions have to be made. And I would extend that invite to Nicola to see. Like, I mean, we know numerous other people who've been at that junction had fatalities, and it is heartbreaking. And I appreciate maybe her timing in her diary will be busy, but maybe we'll see how important it is to our minister, this A5. So if the Councillor Campbell didn't mind, if that site meeting where we can also refer to the major project as well as some interim work at Kelly's Inn, but that she is invited down to that as well, because I'm not one for motions, and we brought this motion back when I was chair of the council after two tragedies on the A5, and we were heartbroken then. It really isn't good enough, and if we are councillors and we can't deliver on these sort of things, really we are all wasting our time, because as others have alluded, one death is too many, and there's been far too many on that road. So my proposal is invite Minister Nicola Mallon down to that site meeting, and let's put great pressure on her, despite her difficulties that I know she has in signing this off, and just once and for all get this done. And I support the other proposals. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Garrity. I'm assuming that Councillor Campbell is happy enough with your furtherance of his proposal to include the DFI Minister, Minister Mallon, to attend the site meeting. I'm not
happy with that, Chairman. Yeah.
You're happy enough for that, Chair, or happy enough for that, Councillor Campbell?
Yep.
Okay.
No
Thank you. Councillor Clark had his hand up, and he's at hand down now. Councillor Bart Wilson is the hand up again, and this is up and down several times. Councillor Wilson. No, he's gone again. Okay. So, all right then, you've all heard the two proposals as outlined, and they've all been proposed and seconded and agreed. We move forward in that way. So, thank you very much. Councillor Wilson, you're on screen now. You're muted, I think. Can we unmute Councillor Wilson?
Chair, can you hear me now? Sorry about that, but I don't know whose fault it is. But anyway, I would like to join with the other councillors regarding the A5 and the necessity to get that sorted out. It has been shelved for years and years, and really nothing done. I would also like to pass my condolences to the three families that were in the accident, and to the survivor. Wish him well. I would like to also pass condolences to the freak accident in Fermanagh where a farmer was killed when a bale of hay or straw or something fell on him, an aged farmer. And I think that family, a lovely man apparently was, and I would like to pass condolences and that to the family there as well. Thank you, Chair. And I can't know what the problem is, but it does be muted and then it goes on muted.
Okay, we're on page 4, so you want to come on page 8 again, we're aware of that. So we're moving on now. Thank you all. Page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. Councillor Wilson, page 8. Councillor Wilson, we see you. We'll have to get you unmuted.
Yes, Chair. I've just Chair, on page 8, regarding the investigation into the removal of a telegraph pole and the light at the rear of Church Street and Abbey Terrace in Fintona. Well, I put in about 2 months trying to track down. Everybody denied it, housing executive, road service and all. But it has now transpired that it was actually Street Lightning, which is part of road service, that removed that pole and light at the rear of both of those parks or developments. And it's that light has been there for a lifetime, and without any discussion at all, was just disappeared. They are saying now that it's really not necessary, that it was, what did they say? They said it had lost its supply, but that doesn't say it wasn't needed. There's a health and safety problem there. There's totally. They also say that the lights at the front of the houses, the lights at the front of the houses do not show in any way into the rear of them. And I believe there's a lot of aged people and all the rest living there, and they are afraid to go out to the back where they park their cars at the rear. So I think that is something we need to bring to road service attention. It was them took it away. Obviously now they have admitted that after denying it for a long time. So I think that we need to. I don't know. I would propose that we write to the or contact the road service and ask them to replace this pole. It was taken away without any correspondence with the residents there at all, or even speaking to them. Denied even where it was, who took it down, and now I would ask that it be replaced.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
You've made that a proposal.
I have made that a proposal, yes.
I see Councillor Rainey on the screen, who's also a councillor for West Tyrone. I'm assuming he'll want to second that. Okay, he's giving me the thumbs up there. Okay, and
okay. Thank you.
Agreement on that. Back to the chamber now, Councillor Donald Coffey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was happy to second that, but I'm glad to see it's proceeding in any case. My understanding is that, unfortunately, the powers that be in Stormont have decided that while it is welcome that they're replacing lights in many of the estates as part of this renewal, they're also getting rid of lights in places where they used to be. And I think that I think we have discussed this in this chamber previously. But there's obviously a lot of health and safety issues with elderly people, safety, public safety, and the like after dark. And it is rather unfortunate that this sort of penny pinching approach has been adopted in relation to a vital social provision. And I think it is important that we fight for every lamppost in this area. I think that's the sort of outlook. So I'm entirely supportive of the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor O'Coffey. We're all agreed that letter is sent EFA. Okay, that was page 8, page 9, page 10. Sorry, page 10, Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to highlight to members the correspondence received from the Minister of Education in relation to the proposal for Gilligan Primary School to become a rural integrated primary school. So the arrangements are set out within the correspondence, and obviously there's a process now that would unfold, and the transformation ballot details are also provided. Correspondence, Chair.
Thank you very much for that update there, Chief Executive. Councillor Bernice Swift.
Goramagat Kirloch, I'm happy to note that correspondence. Can I come in on a related educational matter? But obviously I see other councillors indicating to speak possibly on the Gilly-Gooly. And if you can bring me back in.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Matthew Bell.
Yes, I'm happy enough to second the noting of this correspondence. I think it's a good response. It shows that the Education Authority is working with Gilligan Primary School, and hopefully the Board of Governors will be able to come up with a good successful transformation bid, and hopefully the school will remain open. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bell. And now Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair, and I just want to add my support to Councillor Bell's comments there. It's welcome to get a response like that from the Department of Education, and hopefully it'll prove fruitful for the school. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that Gilly-Gooly Primary School has our support as a council as a whole. Thank you. Councillor Swift, you wanted to raise another related issue?
Yes, Goramagat Kirloch, and just very quickly, to the Department of Education, and it's about taking action to prevent the transmission of Omicron in our schools. And just very quickly, Chairman, and I'm sure you've been lobbied yourself as other councillors, it's about the concerns of the disruption that the new variants are definitely causing to staff and children alike in our schools and indeed colleges. I'm talking particularly on the provision of masks and proper air filtration, and indeed thereafter to seek the immediate help and to act now to make the education settings as safe as possible, which must be done as a matter of urgency. To that end, then, I ask that we contact our Minister in the Education Department, that we bring this up also with our upcoming meeting with the Education Authority, because I feel very strongly, having listened to a few concerned people that work in this sector, that the current government support and guidance is insufficient to prevent this widespread disruption. So much more needs to be done to ensure that our schools can remain open and most definitely safe for both pupils and staff alike. For example, you know, if we sit back and really think about how possible it is for any school teacher to stay 2 meters away from the young children in the early years classrooms, it's really nearly impossible, and surrounded by 20 children plus perhaps for more than 5 hours a day, and not to even be supplied with the necessary medical care masks. So protecting face-to-face education requires the provision of these masks. We're all learning daily on the TV and hearing the problems widespread right across, that having to work in such Baltic conditions is rather insufferable by just merely opening windows widely. And while we're all trying to do our very best through this pandemic, I do think it's an unacceptable problem that is continuing. So I really feel strongly that given all of the issues, that really government must act, and where there is provision of masks, particularly now the suggested higher grade medical masks should be mandated where necessary, to keep all our schools and our colleges as safe as possible for all of our constituents, because we have noted the increased transmissibility of this new variant, which means things are very, very difficult. And then furthermore, I would ask to be put on the agenda with the EA, but particularly for the attention of the Minister, that she can direct to the department and the Education Authority that all upcoming inspections be suspended until stability prevails, and that would alleviate much pressure of teaching staff, and that they can get on with the business of making the education settings for learning, and tests can come thereafter. Okay, here, look, so that's really the proposal then, to contact the Minister and indeed the wider Executive Office on those issues that are very real for the education sector in our area. Goramagat, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Swift. You made that a proposal that we write to the Minister on those issues. And also we have our meeting coming up with the Education Authority very shortly, so those issues can be raised directly with them. Have we got a seconder for Councillor Swift's proposal? Councillor Adam Gannon, I take it you're going to second this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thanks to Bernice for bringing this up. As a teacher, I can definitely attest to the fact that Omicron is having a massive impact on education. I myself had COVID over Christmas and spilled isolation, and the isolation spilled into the start of the new term where I had to isolate, and it definitely impacted the students going, we had to have hybrid learning once again, and it has a huge impact on how students learn. At times in the classroom, I find myself wearing 2 jackets to simply deal with the cold. And Bernice mentioned support and guidance from the department. There is essentially no support or guidance from the department. It's non-existent. It's a couple of letters saying open a window. That isn't support. Barely guidance. The department's failing on this one. I feel very passionately about this because the department has failed the entire way through this pandemic. We're coming up in particular to a vital period from my perspective as a secondary school teacher, where exams are coming up in February and March, and then into obviously May, June, where we have further exams across the board. And without the proper equipment, whether that be air filtration, proper masks, schools will suffer. Students are off, teachers are off. It's just not working. There's been no give from the department or anything, and they really need to take action now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and you've obviously seconded Councillor Swift's proposal. I think we're all agreed on that. Seen any indications, but there are 1 or 2 councillors, and I want to make you aware to make this very, very quick and succinct. Councillors, time is moving on. Councillor Emmett McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Just getting the lock off there. No, happy enough to support the proposal that Councillor Swift has brought before us, and I would maybe ask her to include one small amendment, or hopefully she's willing to. If not, I would make it as a separate proposal. But it's just on that point that the Councillor Gannon raised there about the windows being open now in classrooms, and obviously given the time of year it is and the particular weather spell that we're going through, that there would be some attention or some provision given to some sort of school uniform reform, because I think the fact that children are sitting in these rooms, and I think it's probably affecting girls more given the school uniforms that we do have, that they're freezing sitting in these classrooms, and they're limited by what the school uniform regulations are in terms of what they can and can't wear. So it would be to really prioritise the pupils, put their health and well-being first as opposed to their appearance. And I know that we're talking about writing to the Minister here. Her department does have the authority or the power to give directions to any relevant authority on particular issues, so it is something that falls within her particular remit, but it's something that I've been approached with personally, so hopefully Councillor Swift will be happy enough to include that in her proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor McAleer. Councillor Swift's given me a thumbs up there, so that's included in her proposal, seconded by Councillor Gannon. Are we all agreed? No indications of any dissent. Okay, we're moving on. Page 10, page 11. Okay. Okay, on to item 6, and it's matters arising from the council meeting dated the 7th of December 2021, and for matters arising, and so it's page 1, page 2, page 3. Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. Just item 6.2 on page 3 regarding homelessness in Omagh, and just to highlight to members 2 items of correspondence that have been received. Firstly, from the Housing Executive dated the 20th of December, and secondly, from the Police Service of Northern Ireland dated the 21st of December, setting out the arrangements that both of those organisations and steps taken in relation to the Council's previous representations on this matter, Chair.
Okay, they're for noting and they're self-explanatory. However, there are two councillors indicating that they wish to speak, and they're both on WebEx. First of all is Councillor Emmett McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll note the letters, although it's, I suppose, with disappointment in terms of the content of them. And I think having contacted a number of migrant groups locally, I would just have to I would have to note that during this challenging time for all communities with the COVID pandemic, the ever-rising cost of living, that vulnerable people need more support than ever and not to be vilified and persecuted. Migrant people in particular are vulnerable to racism, xenophobia, particularly when the forces to be on the street, and the PSNI sadly has a poor record in protecting people from racist attacks and tackling racism amongst their own ranks. The communication that we've seen here speaks to that, regrettably. Despite the PSNI claiming that they want to support people, the measures they envision are warnings, fines and arrests, and indeed even progressing down the route of deportation, which demonstrates quite a hostile attitude towards vulnerable migrants. I was speaking earlier with United Against Racism in Belfast, and I stand with them in saying that we will never accept the targeting of vulnerable communities by authorities tasked with protecting them. This practice really shouldn't be normalised, it should be challenged, and the reasons for why an increasing number of people are struggling with poverty and inequality must be investigated instead by all relevant parties, as opposed to attacking those who are suffering as a consequence. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councillor Barry McAduff. Councillor McAduff. Okay, we'll move on now to the chamber, and we have Councillor Donald Coffey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I thoroughly agree with the previous sentiment as expressed by Councillor McAleer. We have to stop seeing people in racial terms and racial profiling. Is this wrong? One thing I would note from the correspondence from the Housing Executive is that I do note that they said that a number of people were reported as rough sleeping, and this resulted in 11 placements in temporary accommodation being made. I note from our report that the Housing Executive presented to our Council in October that there are actually 609 homeless people in Fermanagh and Omagh, but only 222 were placed in temporary accommodation. So I really wonder whether, why, if people can be found temporary accommodation when it comes to this sort of operation, why can't that be extended to ordinary working class people who end up being homeless in our society? 609 people in our council area are homeless, and it's at the admission of the Housing Executive themselves. Only 222 of whom were actually provided accommodation, but they can find 11 housing stock units when it comes to a profiling operation. So I think it's very concerning, and I would call that we should actually propose that we write to the Housing Executive and request why it is that they can provide homeless accommodation in some cases, but not in general. If there's 609 people in our council area homeless, why aren't they getting housing accommodation as well? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. See, Barry McAduff, Councillor McAduff is highlighting again, indicating. So, go on ahead, Councillor McAduff.
Hi, Chair. The system didn't allow me to unmute there previously, so I've just been able to unmute. That's why you didn't hear me at the time of being called. But I agree with the previous speakers in this discussion about this is very, very sensitive. And I too would like to express my support for the human rights of migrant people. Absolutely. And, in any future interaction, I think it would be important to have United Against Racism around the table, you know, when we're looking at this and related issues. I convened and chaired the interagency meeting at the end of October, and it was I who proposed that these two letters be sourced, you know, that the council write to both agencies, because in that meeting it was clear to all of us, and the Omagh Town DEA councillors were well represented at that meeting, with Housing Executive, Department for Communities, various organisations, Omagh Ethnic Community Support Group, St Vincent de Paul churches, food banks. It was clear to us that the statutory responsibilities rested with the Housing Executive and the PSNI. So it's very sensitive. I mean, if there was if there's any vulnerable people at risk here, then they need to be absolutely supported. But some issues have arisen here which cause everybody great concern, and I think it's very useful to have these letters on the public record as well. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McAuliffe, you're happy to second the noting of two pieces of correspondence?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor O'Coffey made a proposal that we write back to the Housing Executive. Have we a seconder for that? Councillor Keenan, you wish to come in?
Yeah, happy to second that.
Okay. Are we all agreed that a letter be sent back to the Northern Ireland Housing Executive on this issue? Okay, I'm not seeing any dissent. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Still matters arising. Page 4.
Chair, just at the top of page 4, item 7.1, just to refer members to the response received from the Treasury in relation to the closure of the AIB branch in Omagh.
Okay. Again, it's for noting, and it's self-explanatory. Whoever, Councillor O'Coffey wishes to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose to note this. It is genuinely quite a disgraceful response. The idea that people in Omagh are being directed towards the Ulster Bank and Halifax, or else to the post office, where the reality is at the very same moment, people who are no longer allowed to receive benefit payments into post office accounts. So, it doesn't even make sense. And what's happening is that people are being pushed out of banking facilities, basically. This is what's happening. We're going to have to pay to access cash. The implications of moving away from cash, which is the general trend, is that the lowest income people will be the ones who suffer the most because they have the highest reliance on cash. And as well as that, it's of course a mechanism to monitor people who have worked their entire lives to build up assets which they would like to pass on to future generations, and yet they be taken away from them and given to private care homes who are basically charging punitive rates for. So this is what's happening in our society. People are being locked in to systems, and any wealth that any working class person can amass is going to be taken away from them, and at the same time we're being pushed into ever more coercive forms of banking structure, and I think that this is going to have a dramatic impact in rural areas like Fermanagh. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. For the WebEx, I'll move Councillor Emmett McAleer. I get you're prepared to second the noting of the correspondence.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'll second again, as Councillor Coffey rightly says, a really disgraceful letter back. And again, whilst noting in the middle of page 1 that in 2020, 83% of adults used contactless payments, 72% used online banking, 54% used mobile banking, there's actually no reference that we were in the midst of a pandemic, that we were we're in the middle of a lockdown. It just seems to be, probably like a lot of things to do with the Conservative Party, it's based in a completely alternative reality. The one thing I suppose I would say is the note at the end of the letter in terms of switching bank accounts. That would actually be something that I would encourage people to do. That if banking institutions aren't willing and aren't able to provide facilities on the ground to the people in the local community, that they should actually look to switch an account to somebody who is willing to do that and who is prepared to do that. So I think that people should indeed hold banks to account by voting with their feet, because as the letter notes, that banks are incentivized to work hard to retain their existing customers and attract new ones. That's something that evidently First Trust have failed to do in this instance. They met with us, they were rebuked in the papers by the financial services, and yet they proceeded with this without any consultation of the local community. So I would encourage people to actually move their bank accounts from First Trust, and I think that's something that people should look to do if they are First Trust members. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So it's been proposed and seconded for noting, and we're all agreed on that. Okay, and still on page 7. Sorry, page 4. Page 5, Chief Executive.
There are 2 items of correspondence on page 5, item 7.4 on universal credit uplift. The first is correspondence from the Department of Work and Pensions, dated the 21st of the 12th, and secondly from Her Majesty's Treasury, dated the 6th of January. I suppose the first letter, Chair, refers the Council really back to the Executive and advises that the Executive have operational responsibility and could set a universal credit rate independently of the UK Government. The second letter has much more of a focus on the support the Treasury is providing to English councils, and that's particularly detailed on the second page of the letter.
Okay, again, this correspondence is for noting, and you've heard the explanation by the Chief Executive. First to speak is Councillor Donald Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose the note. I won't say anything more than this, apart from one thing, which I'd like to highlight, is the reference in the first of the 2 documents. And I think it's very important that we as a council note this, because I had a proposal that was ruled out of order because it was stated that the Northern Ireland Executive has not responsible for social security policy in Northern Ireland, and yet we have a policy in front of us, a paper rather, from the Department of Work and Pensions in London, which states precisely the truth, which is the Northern Ireland Executive is responsible for social security policy in Northern Ireland and is able to set the universal credit rate independently of the UK Government, which is exactly the point I made and which was ruled out of order, Chair, I'm afraid, on the basis of misinformation. But thank you. Happy to know, Chair.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councillor Emmett McAleer. You're on the second, the 2 pieces of correspondence that are noted.
Yeah, and again, very disappointing. And I think I would, as Councillor Coffey rightly says, and I don't know if that can be re-proposed at this juncture or not, because I think it was a very valuable suggestion at the time. And reading the letter again, I'm unsure why it was ruled out of order, but obviously there was a different understanding at the time. I would also take issue that the 3rd paragraph down starts, the government's priority throughout the pandemic has been to protect people's lives and livelihoods. That nothing could be further from the truth in my eyes. And I think the fact that whilst we're even learning today that whilst NHS staff were having to bring their own PPE to work, Boris Johnson and his like were organising bring your own booze parties. It's just absolutely scandalous. Nobody believes a word that these people say. You know, the government has consistently said that the best way to support people's living wages is through good work, better skills and higher wages, yet they refuse to pay an increase for NHS staff. It's beyond ridiculous, really, what the first letter says. In relation to the second letter, again, the fact that NHS staff wages have fallen by around £6,000 for an experienced frontline worker. The fact that we have obviously Sajid Jivad, the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, an ex-banker pretending to be cared or worried about protecting the NHS and its staff. It's really beyond a joke. They talk about in the second letter again helping low-income families, whilst there's conveniently no mention of either the 1.25 national insurance increase, which is incidentally due to go through on the same day that MPs' pay is scheduled to raise by more than £2,000, but that's 2.7% to £84,000. It's absolutely ridiculous that these people kind of expect us to take them with any hint of seriousness, because they're living in an absolute fantasy land when it comes to the reality faced by many of the citizens across this district. Thank you, Chair. And just very briefly, if I could raise an issue on 7.3 as well, in the same page of the minutes. It's page 5 there. Just in relation to the rights of nature, I know there's a report coming back at the PNR committee later this month. But I'm just wondering, has Council received any confirmation or any word or notification of an award we actually received from the Centre for Democratic and Environmental Rights? It was a local recognition of rights award, which recognised this council for the introduction of a motion in relation to the rights of nature. So I'm just wondering if we've received any information or any clarification on that, and perhaps the Chief Executive could advise.
Yeah, the Chief Executive. So you're great.
Chair, certainly I'm not aware of us receiving any such notification, but I will follow that up tomorrow, Councillor, and we can report next week when we're bringing through the other information.
Thank you. Okay, those two pieces of correspondence are noted and comments have been made. Okay, we're still on page 5. Page 6. Page 6, Chief Executive.
Yes, Chair, just to highlight to members correspondence received from the Chief Executive of the Western Health and Social Care Trust. There were really two aspects to this, Chair, but it's primarily around the access to GP services and then the specific queries in relation to the multidisciplinary teams and the provision of the appropriate accommodation. And you'll see from the correspondence, Chair, that Mr. Gilligan has advised of the work that is in progress, but also making a suggestion that the Council may wish to make representations to the Board on this matter. If I may, Chair, just also advise on a related point, members are aware that we have a meeting scheduled this Friday with the Department, indeed Mr. Cassidy has referenced in the correspondence on the Board, and the Council had requested that we would also include representation of the GP Federation in such a meeting. The feedback from both the Department and the Board is in the first instance they would wish to meet with the Council and there may be an opportunity for a further engagement. So it's just to clarify if members are content to proceed with the meeting on Friday in the knowledge it will be with the Department and the Board representatives.
Okay, thank you, Chief Executive, for the clarification. Okay, Councillors, you have all heard the clarification that was given by Chief Executive. I see a couple of councillors coming on here via WebEx to speak on the matter. Councillor Josephine Dahan.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alison, for your report. This letter from Mr. Neil Gilligan, the Chief Executive of the Western Health and Social Care Trust, is both disappointing and concerning. In the letter, he states that the Western Trust would not be able to invest in accommodation schemes for primary care multidisciplinary teams until wider project funding for the rollout is in place. And in his letter, he also says that funding for further rollout of multidisciplinary teams has not yet been secured. So that's of grave concern, Chair. I acknowledge that the Western Trust did engage with the Southwest GP Federation in terms of drawing up an implementation plan for the rollout of multidisciplinary teams, which has been hailed as the saviour of primary care services throughout the North, and particularly in the Southwest. However, as I previously mentioned to the Council, as part of that implementation plan, we highlighted the lack of suitable accommodation for housing these additional members of the primary care team, and the Trust agreed that they would explore and progress accommodation for these workers. A time frame given was in the region of 6 months to upgrade the shell space in Omagh Hospital and Primary Care Complex, and I'm disappointed that that has not been progressed because, Chair, as you will be aware, once, and we hope that multidisciplinary team rollout in the Southwest will occur imminently, it's important that we should be in a state of preparedness, and we don't want to, once we gain approval for the multidisciplinary team. We don't have to want to have to wait a further 6 months or longer to have the accommodation provided. So I would like to propose, Chair, that we write back to Mr. Gilligan, just highlighting that in our previous negotiations with the Trust that we had been exploring accommodation and progressing that to prepare for the MDT project. So I think that's really, really critical. And I want to emphasize the precarious state of primary care services at present is absolutely essential that we should get the multidisciplinary teams in place without delay. So I want to make that as a proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dehan, are you prepared to propose the noting of the correspondence to first of all? Yes, okay, thank you for that. Okay, members, you've all heard the proposal by Councillor Dehan that we write back. There's 3 other councillors wishing to come on, so I want a seconder for that, if possible. Mr. Donald Coffey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to second that proposal from Councillor Dehan. As ever, Councillor Dehan is bringing the full state of the crisis into the public arena, and I think it's essential that she is able to do that. It is shocking, frankly, that the multidisciplinary team project, which is, as she stated, the only hope of maintaining a degree of frontline comprehensive primary health provision in this area, is so behind, and there appears from reading between the lines in the letter that there's actually been an inadequacy around preparation and pre-planning around it. And I'm certainly happy to second that. I'm wondering, Chair, if it's possible to raise a related issue of major concern, which I've only become aware of in the last few days, which is that unfortunately our neonatal unit in SWA has been cut back now to 2 cots. This is a major reduction in capacity of neonatal provision. We will all remember, Chair, 4 years ago, the Trust threatened to downgrade severely, much the same as what's happened, neonatal provision, and people massed in their hundreds across community to demand the retention of this service. This is absolutely vital to provision of maternity services and, as well as that, the long-term future of an acute hospital. So I would like to propose and use this opportunity, and thank you, Chair, for allowing me to do this, to propose that we write to both the Chair, the Chief Executive of the Western Health and Social Care Trust, to question when is it likely that a full provision of a neonatal unit will return, what actions are being taken, and also to include in that the Minister for Health, because I think the Minister for Health has a responsibility to our community to provide access to neonatal. It's not good enough that families are being forced to visit children large distances away from here in such circumstances in the middle of COVID. I understand that there are staff pressures, and I understand that there is a COVID crisis, but this has been going on for years, that the staffing issues have not been addressed comprehensively. And I think that we as a council need to act on behalf of our community in defence of public health services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. I believe that was your item of any urgent and relevant business that you were trying to. Just to make people aware that I'm not very, very keen on that happening the way that it's just been done there. So let that be a warning to everyone. Next up with Councillor Siobhan Curry.
Yeah, and I appreciate your comments there that you mightn't have just been happy with the way that was introduced, but I'm glad we actually got to it and would like to second Correspondence Coffey's proposal. I think we have been aware over the years of the threats ongoing to neonatal at our local hospital in Enniskillen, and it always seems to be a bit of a target for the Western Health and Social Care Trust. They're vital services, we need them, and I support Correspondence Coffey's proposal there to ensure that we do everything we can to return whatever services have been taken away and to strengthen the services that we have. But Chair, I did have my hand up just in relation to the multidisciplinary teams, particularly around the Irvinstown Health Centre there, and in the response there to the letter, the Chief Executive of the Western Trust references that there were works carried out at Irvinstown just 4 years ago. So there's a degree of short-sightedness, I think, here from the Trust, but that the facilities there wouldn't allow or significant work would have to be carried out. So if Correspondence, and I also would like to support Correspondence's proposal, but if Correspondence would agree just to add into that letter back to the Trust, just around what work, just to ask the Trust what other options they are exploring in the area. We have an absolutely fantastic healthy living centre in the area, which provides lots of services to the community. I'm not saying that that's the only place that the Trust should be looking, but I would be interested to know, you know, just saying that the building's not big enough to accommodate multidisciplinary teams, I don't think really that's acceptable. What are they doing then to identify premises or places in the community where these services, much needed services, can be provided? Margaret.
Thank you very much. I see, thank you, Councillor Curry. Councillor Dehan has given us a thumbs up there to yourself, Chair, obviously, for that one. We have another councillor wishing to come in here, and it's via WebEx, and this has been the last speaker on any of this, and this is Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm very concerned with this letter as well from the Trust, particularly overall. It's concerning right across our council area. But I am particularly concerned about the new proposed health centre in Lisnaskea and the ambiguous nature of the paragraph relating to it on the forward planning to allow the multidisciplinary team space in this new health centre for the Earnest area of Fermanagh. And certainly, Chair, I would ask that we would write back to ask for clarification here. This is a development that is not yet on the ground, and certainly there is time, and for the amount of time that it has taken to get to this point, surely the planning can have happened and the space to accommodate these teams put in place. And I'd like to propose that we do write back and seek clarification exactly around what planning has taken place, what space is being allocated, and when can we see some work progress on a start to having blocks on the ground, not just more talk about this health centre being put in place, but actually see building work start. So I'd like to propose that, Chair. But just as an aside to say that this argument that there is not enough space anywhere, or we have towns and villages with multiple places sitting idle for years. So there is any amount of space, Chair, that with a little bit of creative thinking could be well developed to meet the needs of the disciplinary teams in any community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I said there were no more speakers coming in here on this one. Have we got a seconder for Councillor O'Reilly's further proposal there to do with seeking clarification re Lisnaskea Health Centre? Seconded by Councillor O'Coffey. We're agreed. Okay, you've heard there's been a proposal by Councillor Dehan, seconded by Councillor O'Coffey. We write back to Mr. Gilligan. Proposal by Councillor O'Coffey and seconded by Councillor Siobhan Curry. The right to Chief Executive regarding the neonatal unit issue, and a further proposal now by Councillor Thomas O'Reilly and seconded by Councillor Donald Coffey that we write to the Chief Executive regard to the Siskey Health Centre and the Department of Health. Are we all agreed on those three issues? And our members, Chief Executive's talking to my ear here, and our members content that we carry on with our meeting on Friday. Okay? No dissent, Chief Executive. Thank you. Okay, keep it on. Page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10. Page 10, Chief Executive.
Chair, just to highlight to members, item 15.1, this is regarding the divestment function in relation to exploration licenses. Correspondence that we received, or dated rather, the 7th of January 2022, and that is in the other folder from the Department for the Economy, which is setting out the department's position in relation to the respective functions and also clarification regarding the current licenses that are in operation on the site in question, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Executive. And again, for noting, Councillor Emmett McAleer.
Thanks, Chair. First of all, I'll note the letter. I think it is an interesting letter as it once again confirms that the Dalradian's mineral prospecting licenses have expired from December 2019. I think this correspondence raises additional questions about how the functions of both DFE and the Crown Estate Commission, as well as DFI, link up regarding these matters. The Department for Economy grants prospecting licenses for base metals, but not for gold and silver, as noted in the letter. Crown Estate grants option lease agreements for precious metals, which include gold and silver, provided other permissions and licenses are in place, and that's noted on the Crown Estate website, and it was reinforced to us when I actually met with the Crown Estate in early December. Dalradian's prospecting licenses from DFE for areas DG1 and DG2 expired in December 2019 and have not been renewed as yet. Furthermore, and this is an important point, in the absence of such permissions and licenses, Dalradian cannot enjoy the benefits of permitted development rights, which the department has considered reviewing for some years. The upcoming meeting with the Crown Estate agents may provide an opportunity to discuss and actually clarify some of these issues, because there still seems to be continued confusion surrounding statutory bodies in relation to their roles and responsibilities. And I think we need to raise these issues and we need to iron that out, because at the minute it seems to be that whatever the mining companies want to do is being permitted and being facilitated, whether they have the rights to do so or not. And obviously, as a council, we know as well that the planning permission for that particular area has expired. So it really just goes to highlight serious concerns surrounding the entirety of this operation within the DA that I represent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You proposed to note. Have a seconder for noting? Seconded by Councillor Keith Elliott. Agreed. Thank you. Okay, that was page 10, page 11. Page 11, Chief Executive.
Chair, just item 15.3 at the bottom of page 11, a further response from the Police Service of Northern Ireland in relation to the Roxanne project that the Council has made previous representations on. So this is from Acting Superintendent Dornan, who confirms the Police's previous correspondence accurately sets out the position on this matter.
Okay. Councillor Keenan first in. Can you propose to note first of all, Councillor Keenan?
Yeah, can I do that? Yeah.
Yeah, proposed note. Okay, carry
Well,
on.
I suppose this it's another very dismissive letter from the SNA have received a letter of concern from us, a local government body, majority view of the area. with
Sorry,
regards to our
Councillor-
relationship with an abuse of the
Councillor
apartheid
Keenan,
state.
you're breaking up.
But they have again replied in a very dismissive manner, as they did in the previous correspondence, which in my view only enforces the general public perception that this police force is not accountable and not representative of the community that it operates in. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Emmett McAleer, via WebEx, you second the noting. Councillor McAleer?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'll second the noting again. Deeply disappointing, and I suppose reading the last line of the first page there, that the representative from the PSNI believes that this upholds the ethical framework in which the project is government, and I suppose given the local treatment of environmental protectors and the local community in my area, it would go some way to describing what the ethical framework actually is whenever it comes to upholding their duties. So I'm completely dissatisfied with the response. I don't think they've investigated or looked into this in any serious way, shape or form. I think it's just been swept under the carpet, as Councillor Keenan says. It's a dismissive attitude to have to a local government institution. But there we go. We've seen it time and again, and no doubt we'll see it again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. It's proposed and seconded for noting. Okay, thank you. Page 12 now in matters arising. Page 12, page 13, page 14, 13, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Bert Wilson. Mr. Wilson. Okay, we can see you. Trying to unmute you.
Yes, Chair. Finally, it's happened. It's actually from 22.1, the 4-day working week, and it's at the end of that on the bottom of page 15. Regarding the minutes, I do not see anywhere in this, it mentioned, yes, micro business and that. It doesn't, and anywhere, and I raised it to do with the agricultural industry. It doesn't mention it in anywhere in that, and anybody reading those minutes would believe that. Anybody reading those minutes would not believe that it was mentioned at all. It says here that the micro business were the main employees in the district. Well, I would contend that the agricultural industry is one of the main industries in our council area, and I would also contend the fact that the severe effect that this would have on the farm animals' welfare and the effect on our stock on the industry as well. So I would ask that minute take into account the fact that I did raise it as a major industry, and there's really no mention that anybody reading these minutes would believe that there was any mention made of it at all. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson. I'm going to bring the Chief Executive on here for clarification on that issue.
Well, Chair, it's just to say the minute has been adopted as an accurate record, so can't now be amended. But obviously, Councillor Wilson's comments can be noted in the context of this evening's discussion.
Yes, well, I would ask that that be done, Chair.
Your comments have been noted. Okay. Thank you. We were on page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we have 3 items of correspondence to highlight to members in relation to item 22.2, which related to the motion regarding the potential of costs around explosive exports. So firstly, Chair, is correspondence from the Minister for Infrastructure noting the detail of the motion and advising that we may wish to make specific representations to the PAC in relation to its inclusion within the forthcoming public inquiry. The second letter, dated the 6th of January, is from the Minister of Justice, advising that this is an operational matter for the Police Service of Northern Ireland and referencing the strategic review that the police is undertaking. And then finally, Chair, correspondence just received earlier today from the Police Service in relation to a couple of the details asked. One was in relation to the costs per escort, which are detailed in the letter, and reference is also made to the strategic review, and it's advised that that work is due to complete by the 31st of March 2022.
Okay, thanks, Chief Executive, for that. And again, this correspondence is for noting. Councillor Emmett McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll propose to note the correspondence. I think in relation to the response from DFI, again, completely pithy and dismissive, but I would take them up on the offer of raising the specific matter detailed in the correspondence when it comes to the public inquiry as part of the council. I know that was our initial request as part of our correspondence. They've come back and said we raise it with the PAC. I propose that we actually do that. In relation to the third letter, the most recent one, which was received today from the PSNI, I'm having difficulty believing that it's actually an accurate representation of what has really occurred here, because the figures given in 2015 and 2016 are completely at odds with what is quoted in this letter. Chief Superintendent Donaldson confirms that the potential cost of escorting explosives onto the site of the proposed gold mine Greencastle is approximately £285.20 per individual escort. The projected costing from PSNI to FODC today contrasts significantly with the actual costs incurred by the police for policing the exploration works for a period of 10 months from August 2015 to June 2016, which was invoiced for £437,610. So going on the costing provided by Inspector Donaldson today, that of £285 per escort, that should actually only have been £23,386, not £437,000, or else it should have provided 1,534 escort services. So it's clear that the new figure provided today is seriously incomplete. So for the sake of accuracy, I'm proposing that the Council ask the Chief Superintendent for clarification, including whether the quotation involves the essential vehicular convoy support, and indeed whether he envisages air support would be required, as both were previously provided in 2015 and 2016, and whether a projected costing is available for aerial support. Furthermore, I propose that we contact him to ask whether he can confirm whether and at what level policing security is required while the explosives remain on site, including in Dalradian's explosive store, and whether additional policing support is required around the times of the proposed twice daily blasting every day of the year for the next 20 to 25 years. And again, I have to put on record my concern that this isn't an operational matter. This is very much a policy change from the police, where they have seemingly made this change without taking into any consideration the cost to the taxpayer, the cost to the ratepayer. So I would have serious reservations and serious concerns about that. They're well stated at this stage, but I'd like to make a note of them again at this point. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, you've proposed the noting, and you've also made 2 further proposals on the back of correspondence. Second speaker via WebEx is Councillor John McCloughy.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, there's some major disparity here. The minister, both ministers have deferred that the police will be providing the report, and it's up to us as a council to ensure that that is presented to the inquiry. So I'm sure if we were to write back to Chief Superintendent Donaldson, it's also to clarify what exactly is the statutory requirements for explosives escort, which he may be referring to, and then what is exactly taken out of the security budget, which is a different matter again, and that's for the security of the officers involved in the escort of the explosives, which are two different things. I think that has been lost in translation, and what we were looking at the overall costs, not just the costs of the escorts of the explosives. And I'm sure maybe if that was written in and clarified that that could be presented, because at the moment there's a massive difference between what we were hearing in the chamber a few weeks ago was going to be the costs and what exactly those costs multiply out at.
Okay, so I take it what you're saying there, Mr. McClarty, you're prepared to second the noting of the correspondence, and you're also prepared to second the two proposals as proposed by Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, if he's prepared to amend that, we seek clarity on what exactly is explosives escort and what is an overall, I think it's a security budget to do with counter-terrorism protection for the officers involved in the escort of the explosives.
Are you happy with it, Councillor McAleer? Just give me a thumbs up, please.
Sorry, Chair, could I just get clarification on what exactly the amendment is there?
It's not an amendment, it's an add-on. Go ahead, Councillor McClarty, inform Councillor McAleer.
So it's the escort of the explosives is a statutory duty. Police that carry that out all the time. It's the security of the police officers actually carrying out the escort of the explosives, which may be the additional cost. And to see, obviously, that's dependent on the certain circumstances. It comes out of a different budget, and obviously we would seek clarity on that there to see what the overall cost would be. But I mean, there's a massive difference in what we've been hearing before in the chamber and what we're actually seeing there when that multiplies out.
Yeah, a massive difference between what was previously charged. But he has stated in his letter that the potential cost of escorting explosives on site is 280. He hasn't made any differentiation or any.
Sorry, Councillor, if you could bring your comments to close and address your comments through the chair, as I said at the outset. But all I asked is for Councillor McClarty to give you an answer. Now, are you prepared to accept what he's saying? He was seconding your proposal with a slight add-on to it.
Yeah, Chair, as long as it's an add-on and not an amendment too, that's fine. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. That's fair.
Accept that? Okay. And last up, Councillor Keenan, and we've already debated it, so keep your comments short. Thank you.
Yeah, well, just in relation to the letter from the Minister of Justice, she states that the security of the transportation of the explosives is an operational matter for the PSNA. Again, the unaccountable police force making decisions without public input. And as far as the ongoing report that the PSNA talks about or is allegedly doing, a concerned constituent sent me a link to a Canadian website today there, mining.com, and they're going through the whole costs and the reasons for 2017 the mine was stopped because of security in the Galantis site. And they're basically, it was posted today at 3:30, they're basically saying they're open for business now because the police are providing the free security and have got around the counter-terrorism issues. So the PSNA is talking about an ongoing report before they go ahead, but the Canadian mining companies are publishing that they've got to go ahead here. So do they know something we don't know, or what's going on here? Or, you know, is the report done and dusted, or is it ongoing? Just a point.
I'm not bringing anyone else on this, Councillor Coffey. Okay, thank you for your comments. Those three pieces of correspondence have been noted, and there has been two proposals made there by Councillor McAleer and seconded by Councillor McClarty. Are we all agreed? Seeing any dissent in the chamber, in either the town hall or virtually? Thank you. Okay, finishing off the page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21. Okay, it is now 8:46 p.m. We're only on item 7. So bear that in mind. We're now moving on to confirm the minutes of the reconvened Regeneration and Community Committee meeting held on the 25th of November 2021. And it's paper C, and it's for accuracy only. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. We go down to Councillor Warrington for a proposal for the adoption. Proposed by Councillor Warrington. Will be a seconder. Councillor Elliott, and all agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 8, and it's to confirm minutes of the Environmental Services Committee meeting held on the 8th of December 2021, paper D, for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 14, Councillor Siobhan Curry.
Gurmagada Carley, it's actually, sorry, I've came in a little bit early there, sorry. Page 17.
Okay, page 15, page 16, and page 17. Councillor Curry.
Yes, Gurmagada Carley, it's just in relation to 12.2 there, and it's just the, in the second paragraph, it's just comments that I made that said that members of the public were confused and that their vehicle tax had expired, and it's probably just that it is just a bit of a complicated issue, but the point I was just making is that people are uncertain around when their MOT actually expires due to the exemptions and other ways, you know, that have been ongoing throughout the pandemic. And then by the time they come to book their MOT, they can't get a date within the time, and then their vehicle tax is expiring. So it's quite a drawn out point, but it was just that it just didn't come across very clearly, Chair, just in the minute in there. And just on that same issue, in relation to the bullet points below that, bullet point 4 there, I just want a bit of clarification around the terminology just that we're using, geographical terminology, and I appreciate that we do have different terminologies that are used. However, just in the reporting of council minutes, I just wonder, could I just get some advice on the use of mainland UK, because it's certainly not something that I would recognise. I understand maybe we're talking about Britain there, or the island of Great Britain. Mainland UK to me sort of says that we're floating off the island of Britain somewhere, somehow independent or dependent on it. So I'd just like clarification on that point as well, Chair Gurmagad.
Well, I'll ask the Chief Executive to answer that one for you.
Chair, just in relation to terminology, as Councillor Curry has referenced, members frequently, I suppose, use a variety of terminology for where we live and indeed where others live as well. The phrase mainland UK was referenced by a member in the course of the meeting. Officers we try to give a general flavour for the discussion, and the reference was made specifically around the advanced, the comparisons between here and Britain. I think the councillor is correct in that Britain was the more accurate reference in this regard, but the reference was drawn from the discussion. So happy to clarify that within the note of this meeting. But I suppose also just to say, Chair, as members will agree, it wouldn't be, I suppose, appropriate for officers to ascribe a meaning particularly in relation to place name and terminology, but I hope that clarifies it.
Okay, thank you, Chief Executive. Councillor Curry, are you happy with that explanation?
Yes. Gurmaggat and Gurmaggat Allison for that. Just on the original thing that it came in on, just that might be updated. I do find that terminology a little bit troubling. It doesn't sit very comfortably just with me. I don't think we should be using terminology like mainland UK. I don't identify with it, and I appreciate, Chair, that some members might. It's not something I hear very often though, so I think, I think everybody would be content recognising the island that is Great Britain, but it sort of diminishes actually where we are, in my mind, that we are somehow floating off and somehow dependent on it. So it just that to be given consideration in the future, Chair. Gurmaggat.
Okay, your points have been noted there, Councillor Curry. So that was page 17 and page 18. Subject to those issues being raised, can we have Councillor Buchanan to propose the adoption? Councillor Buchanan is proposed and Councillor Robinson seconded. On to item 9, and it's to confirm minutes of the Regeneration and Community Committee held on 14th of December 2021, and it's paper E for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, and page 22. We will go now to Councillor Victor Warrington for the adoption. Councillor Warrington proposes the adoption. The seconder, Councillor Paul Blake, and agreed. Councillor Diane Armstrong. Oh, you're just seconding. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item 10, and it's to confirm the minutes of the Policy and Resources Committee meeting held on 15th of December 2021, paper F for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, stuck together here, page 11, page 12, page 13, and page 14. Okay, can we go to Councillor Howard Thornton to propose the adoption of the minutes? Yeah, hands up, proposed. Have a seconder, Councillor Keith Elliott, and all agreed. Okay. Moving on to item 11, is to confirm the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 16th of December 2021, and it's paper G for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11 and page 12. Go to Councillor Glenn Campbell to propose the adoption of the minutes.
Happy to propose, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell, and seconded by Councillor Josephine Dehan. And all agreed. Thank you. Okay, we're down now to item 12, and it's correspondence. And the first piece of correspondence, 12.1, and again, it's from the Western Health and Social Care Trust. Chief Executive.
Yes, Chair, members will recall we did discuss this prior to Christmas, and it was the Council's concerns regarding the opening arrangements for the vaccination clinics over the Christmas period. So I did share the letter at the time when the response was received from the Trust. So really just for noting, Chair, I suppose the wider point is obviously concern more generally across the health community about the low uptake now and the declining uptake really around the booster vaccinations.
Thank you, Chief Executive. And it is for noting, Councillor Coffey.
I'm happy to note, and I'm happy to say that as a result of this council getting involved, we did see an extra 2-day provision. I know it wasn't everything we wanted, but at least there was some improvement. So happy to note. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seconder for noting, Councillor Paul Robinson. Okay. 12.2, and this correspondence from the Executive Office. Chief Executive.
Yes, Chair, this is from the private office of the head of the civil service, and it was in response to our additional representations around members' concerns about delays in responses from government departments. I suppose it really doesn't deal with the core concerns that the council had raised and had asked an assessment of the data, but it does advise that lessons have been learned and additional contact points have been put in place. We obviously did make separate representations on the spend local cards, and they'll be considered at tomorrow night's meeting.
Okay, it is for noting this correspondence. Councillor Bernice Swift, happy to propose noting.
Yes, happy to propose noting, and just to make mention quickly that I do have further issues on the whole spend local card difficulties. They didn't provide us with a hotline number, and their automated response was less than helpful to those who presented with difficulties, not of their making, definitely technical issues with the cards, but as Alison said, we can discuss that tomorrow night. Gurmagat.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Councillor Swift. Many of us were lobbied on this issue. It has been a success overall, but there have been problems, particularly with the card. So this is for another meeting. So you're proposed to noting, Councillor Dan Armstrong.
Chair, happy to second. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair, thank you.
And that's the first one. Okay.
Yes, second item then is from the Executive Office, and this relates to the publication of the Commission for Flags, Identity, Culture and Tradition report. The Council made representation to this back in October. So in summary, Chair, members are aware this has now been published, and the letter also advises that the Director of Good Relations would be happy to meet with the Council to discuss the report and the matters raised further, if that's something you would wish us to pursue.
Okay, thank you, Chief Executive. I'll be a proposer and second to the note. Councillor Robert Irvine, Mr. Keith Elliott. Agreed. No further action at this stage. Thank you. 12.3, and we have dealt with those. All bar one.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Chief
we've dealt, Chair, just for completeness, item 1, which was from the Department for the Economy, and item 3, which was in the Police Service of Northern Ireland. So the only other letter in the other folder is from Monaghan County Council regarding the All-Ireland Strategic Rail Review, and the Council is suggesting and requesting our support for a collaborative response. I imagine, Chair, this is something that's consistent with the Council's previous discussions on the subject. You are aware we're also working with colleagues in Donegal as well, and if the Council was content, we could participate in a collaborative submission with Monaghan County Council also.
Okay, Chief Executive, thank you. Ian, this is for noting, Councillor O'Coffey.
Yeah, Chair, I think it makes sense to work with everyone around us in order to try and make the best possible case for a return of rail services. I think it's the future of public transport in a green way, and the world's turning towards it, so we should not be left behind. I'm just wondering whether it might be useful, considering the strategic importance to us of, for example, the Sligo and Leitrim direction, in terms of certainly obtaining maybe a connection towards Belfast that's heading towards Sligo. Whether it might be useful for us to perhaps pursue proactively the potential of engagement with those two councils as well. And I'm sure Cavan in the middle wouldn't be amiss either. So I'd like to propose maybe that we just maybe make some connection with those councils to create a weight, because I think acting together we may be able to make a stronger case for our region. Thank you, Chair.
No, Chair, sorry, very happy to follow up on that basis, but it's just to advise also that I am aware ICBAN, who would have membership across that council body, will also be responding on that basis. So I think there will be the strength in numbers, but we can certainly engage with the councils as well.
Okay, and you proposed the noting the correspondence, you made that proposal. Have a second for Councillor Buffet proposal there? See the Chief Executive. Councillor Emmett McAleer seconded it, and he seconded the noting as well. Moving on to two other councillors wish to speak. Councillor McAleer. Councillors.
Sorry, Chair, just muted again there. No, just happy enough to second that, so I'll not take up any more time in the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Anthony Feely. He's got out. Okay. That's no problem. And everyone's agreed with that. That concludes the correspondence, and thank you for that, Chief Executive. Okay, as I said at the outset, we are now going to move to part 2. And our proposer and seconder have gone to committee. Councillor Elliott, and seconded by Councillor Robert Irvine, and agreed. We're in the committee. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're out of committee and back into business again, and now you ask the Chief Executive to give a quick update of what actually happened in committee.
Chair, thank you. While in committee, the Council confirmed and signed the confidential minutes of the Council meeting held on the 7th of December 2021, and there were no matters arising from that meeting. And then the Council also confirmed the following minutes from the confidential committees, which was the reconvened Regeneration and Community Committee held on the 25th of November, the Environmental Services Committee held on the 8th of December, the Regeneration and Community Committee held on the 14th of December, Policy and Resources Committee meeting held on the 15th of December, and the Planning Committee meeting held on the 16th of December.
Okay, for proposer and seconder, that's what took place. Councillor Josephine Dehan, seconded by Councillor Mary Gardy, and all agreed. Thank you. Okay, back into the business again, and now we're on to item 13, which is the notice of motion. And this motion is being proposed by Councillor Donald O'Coffey and seconded by Councillor Josephine Dehan. The proposer, you don't need to read it out, we've had it for a period of time. Just go to your main points. And proposer has 5 minutes, seconder has 3 minutes, all other speakers will have 3 minutes. Councillor O'Coffey. Oh, yep, the other.
I help.
Go.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, councillors will know that this is an issue that we as a body corporate have been pushing for more than a year now. I think we've played a very important role in raising this demand and keeping it on the agenda. During the first lockdown and using this chamber, we were able to highlight what was going on in our nursing homes in a way that was covered in both local and regional press. That was only possible thanks to the NHS workers, the care workers and family members who provided great detail on what had happened. And I know I wasn't the only councillor who heard these reports, and I want to thank those from all sides who have backed motions on this issue. In particular, I want to thank Dr. Dehan, who has seconded motions on this issue throughout. I also want to thank the journalists who have not stopped asking questions on what happened and raising the demand for accountability and truth. In the months following our exposure of what had happened or was allowed to happen in the care homes, the entire board of the Regulatory and Quality Improvement Authority, which is meant to provide oversight of care homes, resigned over the department's handling of this issue. And with the passage of a further year, it became clear that this wasn't an isolated policy, but one common in jurisdictions across these islands. Indeed, we heard from testimony from his own SPAD, the hands of the Prime Minister in London were all over this policy. In New York, the same policy was adopted by the disgraced former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and his arguments denying this was only recently confirmed by a New York State Bar Association report. Sadly, we now know that many people lost their lives unnecessarily as a result of the policy adopted to COVID and COVID testing in nursing homes at the beginning of the pandemic. The Department of Health in Belfast responded to calls for an open public inquiry with a sham internal review. We as a council have previously challenged and exposed that as an exercise conducted under the watchful eye of the Permanent Secretary. Indeed, the Health Minister has responded to the call for a public inquiry using the very same line of argument as the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. They have both claimed it would be a distraction. But it is vital that we learn the lessons of the past so that they are not repeated in the future. The relatives deserve nothing less than that. The pressure is building on the Health Minister. The Tories under Boris Johnson have announced a belated public inquiry into all aspects of the government's handling of COVID-19. With the intervention and support of the Older Persons Commissioner in Northern Ireland, who has taken up the stance of this council, we have an opportunity to push to secure this public inquiry. Indeed, since this motion was submitted first, that call has now been joined by that of the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, which has also raised the demand for a public inquiry into the handling of the pandemic in its annual report. This motion welcomes the brave stance of the Older Persons Commissioner. Perhaps most importantly, it also calls for others to follow the lead shown by this council, including other councils and executive ministers who we will write to support it. I urge all members to support this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Very much, Mr. O'Coffey. Also, And now we'll move on to the seconder, which is Councillor Josephine Dehan. You have 3 minutes, Councillor Dehan.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank Councillor O'Coffey for bringing forward this important motion, and I'm very pleased to be in a position to second the motion. Chair, I thought that the call by the Commissioner for Older People, Eddie Lynch, for a public inquiry into which COVID-19 was handled within our nursing home sector was a vindication of our original motion and the position that this council has taken in that regard. So Eddie Lynch is the Commissioner for Older People, and he is described as an independent champion for older people who safeguards and promotes their interests. And Chair, we don't call lightly for public inquiries because they are lengthy, they are costly, and they're work intensive. But the Commissioner for Older People has called for this inquiry. This council has called for a public inquiry. And I'm pleased to support that call out of respect for our older population. We want to acknowledge their valued and loved status within their families and communities. We want to show our respect for older people and emphasize their value in our society. We want to pay tribute to the very valuable contribution that older people have made to society. And we want to give older people and their families the security of knowing that if they are in a care home environment, that they will be safe from the pandemic. Some of the issues raised by the Commissioner, Chair, included incorrect recording of care home deaths, families not having access to loved ones, PPE supply difficulties, inappropriate use of do not attempt CPR, slow introduction of testing, and transfer of COVID positive patients into care homes. These are issues that we need to scrutinise and look at again. It's not really about apportioning blame. It's about looking at what happened in a situation of which we had no previous experience. And I have previously expressed my admiration for Minister Swan, but it's about asking the questions and trying to find the answers. What could and should have been done differently so that we can prepare ourselves and our society to protect those most vulnerable. So I'm happy to second this motion, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dehan, for being succinct in your remarks. Okay, next speaker up, and all our speakers now will have 3 minutes, and is Councillor Victor Warrington in the chamber.
Thank you, Chair. Well, certainly appreciate Councillor Dehan's closing comments there. I think it's fair to say nobody at the start of this pandemic set out to cause the death of older people. We were dealing with something that we had never witnessed before, and it was something that obviously caused a lot of death and destruction to our community. But I think we continually go over, and I think there's a bit of politicking going on here to basically to bring this to light, because we're rehashing the same debate time after time, and it's done unnecessarily casting doubt and uncertainty. Robin Swan has often said that there needs to be a point when Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK can look back and reflect and make sure we've learned the appropriate lessons. Prime Minister in May 2021 announced an independent UK-wide public inquiry. It is anticipated that this will be in the spring of 2022, and it will be a full inquiry on the 2005 Act. The Executive will shortly be consulted on the final scope and detailed arrangements, and when it is, I'm sure the Minister of Health will be making sure that the particular impact of the pandemic on care homes will be at the very centre of it. Robin Swan has also made it clear that he expects the pandemic response will also be reviewed in a local context once there is clarity regarding the UK-wide public inquiry. that's required in separate Northern Ireland can be considered. It is also important to note that the Commissioner for Older People only made the call in recent weeks after a television programme. Rather than reacting to belated statements to the media, the Ulster Unionist Party's position will be guided by what is best in the best interests of residents and their families. This includes families of those who have sadly passed away with the virus in the first instance that is seeing the scope of the UK-wide inquiry in the weeks to come, and then, if still deemed necessary, introducing our own stand-alone inquiry. We basically, I think it's sad that we have to carry out this inquiry, but again, I reiterate that nobody set out at the start of this pandemic to cause death or mayhem. It was something that we'd never dealt with before, and it's like every situation when it's looked at after. It's the old saying, you can close the door after the horse is bolted. Well, I think it's a case that we were dealing with something unheard of, and certainly, yes, it needs to look at, and certainly Councillor Deacon's comments that we need to be prepared if something like this happens again. Well, I hope certainly, and I'd say everybody in this chamber hopes that this will never happen again, and certainly the Ulster Unionist Party will not be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just within the time, I think there. Okay. And next up, we have Councillor Catherine Kelly via WebEx. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, good night. Thank Chair. I'd like to thank the two councillors for bringing the motion, which Sinn Féin will be supporting tonight. We support the intent of the motion for an inquiry into care homes. We sympathise with the care home residents and their families, particularly those who have been bereaved during the pandemic. But it's also important that we commend the work and sacrifices of those in care homes that took care of our elderly and our vulnerable during the pandemic. A public inquiry needs to identify the failings and to learn the lessons from the pandemic, but there are also lessons to be learned about the response to the pandemic beyond care homes. So we need to consider how we respond across the board. Was our health response enough? Were our track and trace systems and our testing systems adequate? And it's very important for us always to remember that we had a depleted health and social care service due to 10 years of Tory austerity that left us with no staff, no equipment, no PPE equipment, and left us vulnerable and at the mercy of this pandemic. So it's very, very important that we remember that. But Sinn Féin are supporting this motion tonight, and we are looking forward to a healthcare and social care system that will be adequate to meet the needs of our population. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Next up, we have Councillor Paul Stevenson. Councillor Stevenson via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. The situation in our care homes during this COVID-19 pandemic is nothing short of a fiasco. It's clear the stress that has been caused has had a big impact on care home residents and their families. The elderly are one of the most vulnerable in society, and how they are cared for reflects on us. The onus is on the Health Minister to have a public inquiry and to give a timetable of when this will happen. It was good to see that this council will write to the Stormont Executive Ministers and local authorities to back an inquiry as outlined by the Commissioner for Older People, Lady Lynch, under the pursuance of Articles 2 and 3 of the Human Rights legislation. Therefore, the DUP will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stevenson. Next up, we have Councillor Emmett McAleer via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. And again, I would thank the two councillors for proposing and bringing the motion tonight. It's just unfortunate that we're only getting to it at this stage, but following on from the Commissioner for Older People's call back at the end of November, where he noted that there was a huge number of excess deaths in care homes, with at that stage the figures from the NISRA revealing that deaths of care home residents accounted for 30% of all COVID-related deaths. He noted as well that COVID has impacted us all, but for older people and particularly care home residents, those impacts have been exceptionally arduous. Over the past year, we witnessed the incorrect recording of care home deaths, families having no access to loved ones, PPE supply problems, inappropriate use of do not attempt resuscitation orders, the slow introduction of testing, the transfer of COVID positive patients into care homes. The list goes on. Councillor Coffey rightfully notes too, in early December, the Human Rights Commissioner made the statement that what the pandemic proved beyond doubt was that not all people enjoy the same level of protection. Unsurprisingly, those who were already vulnerable or marginalised suffered the most. Many more have become vulnerable and marginalised as a result. It's not enough to recognise the disparity, something must be done about it. And at the time, she stated that the Commission has redoubled its efforts to identify and reach those most in need, that they're concerned that there needs to be a timely public inquiry into the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as rightly stated, in particular in relation to the effect and the impact that had on care homes and care home residents. There's a number of questions, and very serious questions, would need to be answered by the department, by the Chief Medical Officer, by RQIA, and only a full and thorough public inquiry will do that. So I am supportive of the proposal tonight, the motion tonight, and I will be lending my support to it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McAleer. Our speakers wishing to come on. I now go back to Councillor Donald Coffey. Round up.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank all those who have contributed, and in particular those who obviously expressed their support for this motion. I think that this motion is not about, as I think Councillor Deehan correctly highlighted, it's not about apportioning blame to anyone. It's really about attempting to learn lessons. I think that it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that we could see similar, if not not exact same, but similar episodes in the future. And we do definitely need to learn lessons at all times. It should be something mainstreamed. It's not something that any of us should shy away from. I think it is genuinely unfortunate. I wish the UUP had not done it, that they have yet again turned their face against this proposal. It's not really about their minister. I think Robin Swan, of all the ministers, has actually, I think a lot of people would say it across the board, he's performed extremely well in regard to COVID many times. I think that's undoubted. And often under pressure from other ministers in doing that. So I think that should be stated. But at the end of the day, this is about finding out the truth of what happened. People died as a result of poor policies, poor policy decisions being made. And I certainly agree with those who would argue that this came on the back of years of underfunding by both Westminster and by Stormont of our NHS services. But I thank all the contributors for their comments, both for and against, and I hope that this goes forward and that other councils will join now in making an insuperable demand for a public inquiry and the truth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. Okay, we've heard various speakers there speak on this matter. It's a very sensitive subject, there's no doubt about it. And I don't think we think we have to go to a vote on this, because we know what the general consensus was. The majority here were for the motion, with the exceptions of the Ulster Unionist Party. So I'll just take it, without going to a vote, that the remainder are for the motion, and the Ulster Unionist Party are dissenting from the motion, against. Happy enough for that? Okay. Chief Executive, do you want to say anything? Happy enough? Okay. Okay, it's now 9:30, and we have a few items of business to carry on with, and that's any urgent and relevant business. And that's item 14. The first up was Councillor Alan Rainey, MBE. Councillor Rainey.
Well, thank you, Chair. My request, Chair, under any other business is for Matilda Primary School in Seskinore to be included in a part-time 20 miles per hour zone. Now, it's recognised by the parents and the teachers that all schools within the Fermanagh and Omagh district area were assessed under the policy procedure. And the McClintock Primary School is based on the scores from these assessments. A priority list was produced to deliver the scheme to schools in a fair and equitable manner. Excuse me. And while McClintock Primary School is not on the current programme for 21-22, the school will be considered and assessed in any further tranches of the programme that are rolled out. The problem being, Chairman, that the existing entrance to the school for the set down and pick up points is on the Letfern Road, just at the very junction, which is very, particularly, I don't know whether it's very safe, but yes, it will be considered safe. What the parents and teachers are asking that we would highlight is the new extension that has been built onto the school and hit accesses onto the main Clocher Omagh Road in the Clocher side of the village. And the traffic there, perhaps there would be a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit there, but whether everyone obeys it or not, that's another point. But the parents and the teachers are really concerned that perhaps it warrants being looked at again, and that's what I am asking here for the council support, that we would ask Harry Gallagher, the Divisional Roads Manager acting for the Western Division, to take a look at this here on a more urgent basis and see if it would meet the criteria for having this time 20 miles per hour zone in place. I suppose they are looking just a wee bit further up the road to Escrow School, which richly deserves it, And as I said earlier on, the new electronic signage that is outside of these schools, in my opinion, is very, very effective. I rest my case, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rainey. Your case is well put, and we know that location very well, and there's no doubt.
I'm making a proposal, Chair.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. At the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits are very, very useful and effective. Particularly as an Omagh Town Councillor, I can see it quite well in our own county town of Omagh, and it's a good proposal to make. Have we got a seconder to Councillor Rainey's proposal? Councillor Mark Buchanan.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd be happy to second that proposal.
Okay, and I think we have agreement on that. All agreed? Yeah, no dissent. Thank you for that. Thanks, Councillor Campbell. I know you were coming there as well, and Councillor Garrity. Okay, that's you, Councillor Rainey. Next up, we have Councillor Paul Robinson.
Thank you, Chairman. It's to do with private members bill that's coming to Stormont by Claire Bailey, MLA.
It will have a big impact on the agriculture section in Northern Ireland, supporting 113,000 jobs, and is a key part of Northern Ireland economy. This private members bill, which gives net zero target by 2045, will result in the cutting cattle numbers and sheep numbers by 86%, and the dairy cow industry numbers will reduce to the level last seen in 1947. And this will have a big impact on the rural community in Northern Ireland, and resulting in 13,000 on-farm jobs lost, plus thousands more in industry like quarrying, hardware, engineering, etc. There has been no public consultation or no economic impact assessment, and no cost of the proposal bill has been carried out. No real need assessment, no quality impact assessment. The farmers have no problem reducing emissions, but more time is needed to develop and research new technology to help the industry move forward to net zero. A letter should be sent. I propose a letter be sent to the party leaders of all parties and to the Agriculture Committee of Stormont, and referred to our own Climate Committee in the Council. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for that, Councillor Robinson. Okay, we have a seconder there, Councillor Alan Rainey. Councillor Mark Buchanan, you wish to speak? Councillor Alan Rainey, seconded.
Yeah, just coming to support, Chair, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you've heard the comments and you've heard the proposal by Councillor Paul Robinson with regard to this issue, a very serious issue indeed. And I now go to Councillor. First of all, I'll take it as a proposal. Are we all agreed on it? We're all agreed? Yeah.
No.
No. Well, I'm seeing what the consensus is here. I'm aware that you'll be against it, Councillor McAleer. Councillor McAleer, come in.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I've been muted and unmuted again. No, first of all, the fact that this is coming from a party whose Minister for the Environment and Agriculture has fairly sceptical views on climate change, etc., is quite concerning. I don't think this effort to pin everything and pin every blame on farmers is one that needs to be shot down early on. The idea that any progressive green movement is going to adversely affect the local farming industry that we have in this district is by and large nonsensical. What you may see being targeted, which I think would be no bad thing, is the huge factory farms which bear no resemblance to family farms which are traditionally indigenous to this area, through the mass output of emissions of ammonia, of nitrates into the soil, to the various animal welfare issues. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. And likewise, I don't think it's going to affect the rural farmers in the Mid-Tyrone DA and across the Fermanagh and Omagh area by and large. What we're looking at is two opposing bills coming before Stormont. There's one obviously by the Minister himself, one by a collective of the other parties and other groups in Stormont. I wouldn't rate either of them as particularly perfect, but I think I know which one I prefer. And I know another aspect that we've spoken about before in this chamber is the just transition aspect, which would see nobody currently employed or working being left behind through any advances in green technology and green practices. So I think that has to be kept on board. So all things considered, I don't think I can support this motion. I represent an agricultural area, a very rural area, I'm very supportive of the farming community that lives on my doorstep and my family's part of, and my cousins and my relations are part of. But I don't think I can support this issue, and I know they would stand with me on that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McAleer. Next we have in the chamber, and it's Councillor Donald O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Very similar to Councillor McAleer, I think that this motion, I think there's elements that's actually very factual in this motion. There is no rural impact. I think that is a gaping hole.
It's a proposal, not a motion.
Oh, sorry, a proposal. My apologies. There are issues. I don't support this paper because it does not adequately in any way include a just transition for workers or for farmers. And I think that critical to that is actually the empowerment and the central voice of workers and farmers in a process. It can't be implemented from above in the manner in which this bill proposes. But I have to say, considering the role and the proposal that the DUP is bringing forward, which is unfortunately much more reactionary in terms of doing something that we need to, like we've had the hottest, as everyone knows, we've just gone through it, a period. Hopefully we'll have a bit of a cool period now coming, but the reality is we all know we're living through really dramatically changing periods of time. If it's happening in a lifespan or even the experience of one of us as a human being, then that is horrendous when you think about the implications that has on things that should change with geological time. That we need to take action, but I feel that the only way that the sort of action we need to see actually is a dramatic change in the fundamentals of our economy, so that profit doesn't trump everything, and that to me is socialism. So I don't support this motion, and I don't support the issue it's against, so I'll be abstaining. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Coffey. Councillor Stephen Donnelly via WebEx.
Thank you very much, Chair. And yeah, I mean, I suppose just to say from the outset that I won't be supporting this, because I think that if there are issues to be ironed out, then it's important that that is done as part of the legislative process. And I think that we do need to get away from this notion that tackling climate change is forever a fight with farmers, because that just isn't the case. Farmers have a vital role to play as guardians of the land, who understand it better than anybody else and who have a real interest in protecting it. And I think that we need to go forward in that constructive spirit rather than engaging in this constant idea that this is a war on farmers. So this is an important piece of legislation. We need to acknowledge the reality that climate change is already having a real impact on our constituents and having an impact on the farmers who we're discussing in this chamber tonight. So I'm not going to be able to support this proposal tonight, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. So far against it, we have Councillor McAleer, we have Councillor O'Coffey abstaining, and we have Councillor Stephen Donnelly against. Next up and last speaker on it is Councillor Seamus Green via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a great deal of sympathy for what Councillor Robinson has said. Unlike previous speakers, I do think there is a perceived war on farmers. They are seen by a lot of people as the enemy, whereas, as I always maintained, farming is the only profession that we cannot live without. We could quite happily manage without solicitors. I'll go all through as many as you like. The politicians, probably a bit more than most we could do without. But we cannot do without farmers. But it seems to be always that farmers are the problem. I don't see it like that whatsoever. But I will give the bill that's gone through a cautious look and a cautious maybe support, because the actual final pieces of it hasn't been put on it yet. It's a very broad outline, and there's a lot of stuff that can be done in around it. Farming in the north, unlike what Councillor McAleer said, I suspect that a lot of these environmental things come through as the way that some people is proposing them, it would actually end up with small family farms being done away with, and us ending up with huge big farms in good land and everywhere else. No farmers, no family farms, no nothing. That's the way it'll go if less farms and farmers are viable in the hills and the mountains and in the less favoured areas. So I have a great deal of sympathy with Councillor Robinson, but on this occasion I won't be supporting him. But I do agree with some of the statement that he made there.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Green. Definitely the last speaker on this issue is Councillor Adam Gannon via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. Just listening to the discussion there. Similar to Councillor Green, I'm very sympathetic to some of the points that put across by Councillor Robinson there. Farming can be tough work and very hard work, and is very difficult, especially for the small family farmer, as Councillor Green was indicating there. I think the correct thing to do here, Chair, would be to let this bill, and the two bills, in fact, go through the legislative process, allow all aspects to be considered, and as has been indicated by previous speakers, there's more parts of these of the bill mentioned to be added or removed or ironed out. You know, farming is vital to our local economy, and we need to be very cautious of how these bills affect it, but I don't believe Councillor Robinson's approach is the correct one at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Gannon. Come to the end of the debate on that issue. Okay, you've all heard the proposal, and it's been seconded. Just put it here. Are we all agreed? No. Okay, we'll go to the vote, and so we'll just get ready for our vote here. It's over to David. It's just to confirm you're either voting for or against the proposal as put by Councillor Robinson, or you can abstain. Okay. We're all ready to go.
The WebEx poll will appear on the right-hand side of your screen for 1 minute. It is a two-step process. Please select your answer and click Submit on the bottom right-hand corner. The poll is now open.
Not coming up here. Some coming up here. And forward. Okay, accept. Okay, we're there now, folks. Good to see you back in. Oh. Okay. Chief Executive has tallied it up, and she will give you a result.
Chair, so the total votes were 12 votes for, 17 votes against, and 4 abstentions. So the proposal falls.
Okay, that proposal falls. Okay, Councillor Robinson, thank you. We will now move on to our next speaker, and that's Councillor Keith Elliott. You lit up here.
Chairman, well, I've been contacted by a number of constituents following the changes to the TransLink bus timetable, following the latest executive restrictions due obviously to the pandemic. I completely understand the need to adjust the services to follow the COVID restrictions, but a number of students and young people have been negatively impacted by the latest changes to the 261 service running from Enniskillen to Belfast. Many of those who use the 8 AM service do so to attend school and college between Enniskillen and Dungannon, and as well as those obviously who need to commute to work. The removal of this service has left many stuck with the other means, being the earlier 7 AM service, which leave them in Dungannon over an hour before they need to be there. So obviously our public transport infrastructure is already limited in the district, and therefore I would propose the council write to TransLink to ask them to reconsider some of the adjustments they have made to their services, particularly to those services during commuting hours when students will be travelling to their educational settings, and other people obviously commuting to their work who are deeply dependent on the public services provided. Maybe they could look at something after, that sort of commuting period rather than the 8 AM service. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Elliott. And you're making that a proposal, and we'll now via WebEx, and we have the next speaker is Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would be happy to second that. I believe again, rural areas seem to get the brunt of all of this, and COVID on too many occasions has been used to cut services of one type or another from rural areas. So I would very much like to support this. I would also like to draw the attention that there's a number of school bus routes off at the minute, the yellow bus ones, and again that is due to running down of services over a number of years, where relief drivers weren't employed and we were down to the bare minimum, the skeleton staff, and now when anyone goes off there's nobody to replace them, and that's not just a problem from COVID. As said before, it's a problem of a number of years of running down services. So I support Councillor Elliott said.
Thank you, Councillor Green. We're just starting to lose you there at the end. Back into the chamber here now, we have Councillor Donald Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very supportive of this proposal. I think it's on the money. TransLink introduced at the very beginning of the COVID a quite substantially reduced operating timetable. And it was at that stage committed that there would be a return to the service. But if we're now seeing a further diminution of services, that is highly concerning. Now, I do know that there are issues around school children being on the same bus as fare-paying passengers, because the way, unfortunately, the legislation over COVID on public COVID legislation on public transport works is that school children are able to go on buses in higher densities than fare-paying passengers and so on. But if there are any school children on a bus, then that doesn't apply. So I suspect it may be to do with that, but we certainly need to get to the bottom of this. The 261 service is essential in terms of connectivity. And the other thing is that we need to see an investment into expanding public transport in this area and a full return to provision, including to some of the more remote parts of Fermanagh and I'm sure Tyrone, to encourage people to make a transition back after the low numbers that are using public transport. We cannot allow that to continue. We need to see a step change and a return to public transport if we are serious about doing something for the environment as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. But not by any means least, is Councillor Mary Gardy via WebEx.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I'll be brief, but I just want to thank Councillor Elliott for raising this, and I'm fully supportive of his proposal. It has been referenced to me, and we have been lobbying in letters, and it's been treated as a business, and I can understand a business scenario, but as Councillor Kofi said, we have to think outside the box and encourage more. And there's even been people on these buses that haven't been able to get the courses that they want at our local colleges and had to travel there, and they were being denied bus passes or facility to go on that, and they had to pay. And it's just not good enough. Our children need that opportunity to get to their education and have everything in place for them to grow and strive when they haven't maybe got it so locally here. But this is something that is cutbacks, it is not of a positive nature. And I was talking to them today, and it's because the route is not viable that some of these changes are being made, which is really unfortunate. But I do think investment is needed and a change of mindset to encourage back use of public transport and reinstate these routes so that people can get the best opportunities that are available to them. It's not a big long route. Northern Ireland is very small, and we just think if you have to go somewhere, it's a very inconvenience. This is small journeys to travel for good education and good prosperity. So we need them opened up and everyone willing to use them and wanting to use them, and that facility there for each and every one of us. So thank you, Keith, and I'm fully supportive of his proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gardy. Well, there's been the proposal put by Councillor Elliott and seconded by Councillor Green. And I think we're all agreed. I didn't hear any dissent there, so I think we're all agreed, and I don't see any dissent in the chamber. So that has been passed. Thank you. I think we'll get our business done. I think we will anyway. So moving on to the next speaker, and it's Councillor Mark Buchanan via WebEx.
Thank you, Chairman. And I have two issues to raise. I'll be very brief on both. The first is around the Alley Court Tomb, which is located in Drumquin. Myself and Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly recently met with Drumquin Historical Society, and they raised the issue of this Alley Court Tomb. It's a Neolithic site, and it's currently got into a poor state that's inaccessible. It would be in ownership of DAERA. So my proposal would be that we write to Minister Edwin Poots, Minister of Agriculture, Environment, Rural Affairs, to seek clarification on the works DAERA plan to do to maintain the site and to develop it further by upgrading public access and to raise the profile of the site, given that it is located on their property. And just included in that, Chair, I think it would also be useful if we could write to Minister Hargey, the Minister for Communities, as this site is of cultural significance. And there was an initial meeting held with the group, and that was attended by Jill Ormond, who's from DFC Historic Environment Division. So that'd be my proposal, that we write to Minister Poots on these issues, and also to Minister Hargey to see where we go from there, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And next up we have Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm just coming in to support the proposal by Councillor Buchanan. But can I ask if Mark would be content if we can ask that the communication includes the Chair and the Secretary of Drumquin Historical Society, that maybe it could be copied to them just for their information, so that they're included in the correspondence, so that they can be involved in the process from here on in. I can send the details on to Alison for inclusion in the letter if Mark's content with that.
Okay, and I'm assuming Councillor Buchanan's happy with that.
Very happy with that, Chair, and as Councillor Donnelly said, we will pass the information on to assist the officers in the letter.
Okay, and I see some support there from Councillor Alan Rainey, MBE, as well. So I don't see any dissent on that, so it's been proposed and seconded. All agreed. Thank you. Moving on to our last speaker.
Sorry, Chair.
Sorry.
Could I raise one other small issue very quickly?
Then Councillor McElduff.
Very briefly, and I should have got it in earlier. Just it's a request to send a letter to DFA Roads, if the council would agree, and it's a West Rowan issue as well. All the councillors will be aware. It's the Newton Savile Road. It would be known in the area, I suppose, as the Long Line Road. And I'd request that we send a letter to DFA Roads, to the Divisional Roads Manager, asking that action be taken on this road. It has been highlighted now to DFA Roads for some time. Both sides of the road have sunk, leaving it high in the middle, and there's cars that have had accidents with sump damage, etc. And it has been marked twice for resurfacing, but to date no work's been carried out. So it's the Newton Savile Road, but it would be known locally as the Long Line Road. So I propose that we write for an update on that and when that'll be carried out.
Okay, you've heard the proposal. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Paul Robinson, seconded via WebEx. And I see Councillor Campbell supporting it there. I don't think it's proposed and seconded. We're all agreed. Okay, thank you for that. Councillor McAduff. Sorry, can we will get the business finished, I've no doubt about it. Can we propose and seconded that we extend our meeting? Proposed, Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Coffey, and agreed. Okay, Councillor McAduff, over to you. Via WebEx.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my item relates to damage being caused to the defibrillator, the AED, at the CKS Centre in Omagh on Thursday the 23rd of December. Now, regrettably, it appears that the damage was caused deliberately. I have been advised of this, and the defibrillator was subsequently then removed from the circuit, the central locator system used by ambulance service, and is unavailable to this community and that area of Omagh, and will be so until a replacement can be arranged. I believe there's CCTV footage of the incident, and this has been provided by the council to the PSNI, who are currently investigating. I would just ask, Chair, that this be replaced as soon as possible. And given all the work we have done as a council in relation to promoting defibrillators and good access to defibrillators, that we as a council adopt a zero tolerance approach to any interference with life-saving equipment. Having spoken to the people in the area, they're very, very angry and annoyed about this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McAduff. It's no doubt about it. It's a very serious issue indeed, and it's been well covered in our local media as well, what actually happened there.
Yeah.
And you're making that a proposal that is replaced ASAP, and we have a zero tolerance approach towards it.
Yeah.
There's several other speakers coming on here, and I want a seconder for that. Councillor Josephine Dehan via WebEx.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second Councillor McAduff's proposal. This was a truly reprehensible act that someone would seek to damage life-saving equipment is totally unacceptable. It is a matter of huge concern that such a valuable life-saving resource has been put out of use by someone who thoughtlessly engaged in this type of vandalism. Totally unacceptable, and I do feel that we need to do whatever it takes to replace the defibrillator as soon as possible, Chair. So happy to second the proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dehan. I'm just going to bring, if you don't mind, Councillor Fitzgerald, I'm going to bring Mr. John Boyle, our Director, in. I think he has an explanation. John.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, just to let you know that the defibrillator will be replaced on Monday of next week. We have put arrangements in place with a stronger box in case anything should happen again. So hopefully by next Monday, the defibrillator should be up and running again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank John for that, Councillor. Chair, I just want to thank John for that. Barry here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McAduff. There's no doubt about it. It's stupid behaviour to be at, and there's no doubt about it. It has to be condemned at the highest levels. But that will be replaced. So thanks for the update. Okay, there are no other speakers on that issue. I'm going to bring the Chief Executive on here.
Chair, it is. It's on the same issue, and it's just really maybe Councillor McAduff, Councillor Dehan may also wish to expand upon their proposal. Members may be aware that there's actually legislation progressing in the Shannon and All Éireann at the moment regarding the disposal of damage and vandalism to life-saving equipment, including defibrillators, but also lifelines, lifebuoys and water-saving equipment, really to bring in much more punitive measures against vandals who are caught responsible. And it may be something, because I'm conscious this is something councillors have raised before, that you might wish to make some considered representations to the executive on as well, because there's clearly a movement around the legislative basis for this now.
Okay, thanks for that, Chief Executive. Councillor Patrick Withers, very welcome via WebEx.
Yes, Chair, thanks very much, Chair. I just wanted to come in to thank everybody for their well wishes at the start of the meeting. It's great to have this opportunity now to come in to replace the late Councillor Sean Donnelly. Sean was a great credit to the people of Mid Tyrone, and he worked very hard for the local community. So I just want to thank everybody for their wishes tonight, and look forward to working with everybody for the benefit of Mid Tyrone and the wider district. Thank you, Gurr Margaret.
Thank you, Councillor Withers, for your comments. Thank you. And we couldn't see you there, Councillor Swift, but I'm aware that you did send a message in there in the chat. Can you come on now? Councillor Bernice Swift, via WebEx.
Gurmagat Cahirlock, thank you very much, Earl. And this weekend is the Ulster Club Senior Championship final, and my local club, Derrigonley Harps, are in the final against Kilcoo County Down. And this is a massive achievement, having made history by reaching the final for the very first time ever. And I just want to ensure that our quest to bring the Seamus McFerrin Cup to Fermanagh for the first time ever is met with great well wishes from everybody in our Super Council, and that we look forward to the excitement ahead, and that they have the full support of all the clubs and counties represented in our Super Council area. So we're putting Fermanagh on the map again, and I hope to get you to send out a letter wishing them the very best of good luck from all of us here at the council. Gurmagat there.
Thank you, Councillor Swift. So you're proposing that we send a letter to them, okay? And that has been seconded by Councillor Paul Blake. And we have a few more speakers wanting to come in on this issue. And if they're very, very quick and succinct in their remarks, we can do it. Councillor Mary Gardy.
Thanks very much, Chair, and I'll be quick and absolutely wish Bernice's team, Derrigonley, all the very best at the weekend, and really do hope that they come back winners on this occasion. And so I also, Chair, just come back without taking from Bernice's interjection, and do wish Derrigonley all the best. The Chief Executive referenced something there with the defibrillators, that maybe if I could propose maybe a letter that goes off to maybe the Executive to see if anything can be done similar to that is happening across the border, and that maybe we could put procedures in place or suggest that it's something they could look at, so that damage of these defibrillators would be a thing of the past, maybe going forward. Just I picked up on a phrase you said there, and I think I'm sure the proposers and Barry and the likes that were concerned with those events in Oma would be in favour of it. But I just thought it was something we can lead on. Maybe it'd help things going ahead in the future. So I'm sorry I'm skirting between two there, but I hope that's clear, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Gardy. And you've had two nails in the head there. That's fine. And you're seconding the thing about the Derrigonley Harps. That's good enough. And you're also suggesting that Councillor Michael Duff takes that on as part of his proposal, that we write to the Executive Office or whoever in the instalment. Thank you for that. I'm sure that's agreeable by all. Councillor Adam Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Just thanks to Bernice for raising it. I have a number of good friends on the Derrigonley panel, so have to, of course, come in and wish them and the whole team and club best of luck in the final, and hopefully they will make a bit of history. And if there's need to second Councillor Gardays, I'll second that as well while I'm on. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks again. Councillor Anthony Feely.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and I'll be brief as well. Yeah, I'll just same as Bernice, like to wish Derrygonney Hobbs the best luck on Saturday afternoon. Not my club, but neighbouring club, and I know a fair few of the players fairly well there. Right, I'm friendly with a few of them there, and the year that Derrygonney had, it'd be a great tribute for them to win the cup on Saturday evening. I'll be up supporting them, and I just hope they can do it. And the best luck to them.
Okay, thanks for your remarks. Councillor Tommy Maguire. Via WebEx.
Margaret, Carly, thanks, Chair. I did put up my hand to ensure that the proposal that the Chief Executive made was formally proposed. That's already been done in the course of the other hands been up. Just to ensure that it expands to the buoys on the beside the river as well, to all life-saving equipment, as opposed to just singularly the defibrillators. Just if the Chief Executive could clarify on that, please, Chair. Margaret.
Yep.
Chair, yes, happy to clarify. It does indeed, Councillor, any equipment that could be deemed to be life-saving, including life buoys, life rafts, the lifelines, defibrillators, or any similar equipment.
Okay. Just to make you aware, Councillor Maguire, I didn't see your hand up, but I take it was. I didn't see it up. Otherwise, I would have missed you there. So thank you, everyone. And I think that brings our proceedings to a close. Can I thank our personnel for IT and operating it all evening? Thank you, guys. Well done. And I think it's Heather that was our note taker this evening. So thanks to Heather working from home. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.